Calvary Cries Andrew Bello, and you're listening to the #1 DJ here in the UK and all around the world, DJ Kelechi. Keep it rolling. This kind of love, I've never seen your type. Keep it rolling.
And thank you for joining us this morning for Succeeding at and Beyond University. This is an event, a session hosted by KingsWord Church London. And I'm delighted we have Pastor Amy on the line this morning, who will do a very short intro. And again, just welcome everybody before we get going. Pastor Amy, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be in the house this morning. I'm so excited that we could get together to do Succeeding at and Beyond University. This is our 5th edition. We started in 2021, and I'm so excited that we've been going, and we've had lots of testimonials from people who have attended the session, either from an academic point of view or from a professional point of view. We've had people who have found this session really, really helpful. And so my desire is that, a lot of us who are joined in today will find this session really helpful. You're going to be able to get lots of tips. You're going to be able to get lots of wisdom from this session that you can apply in your life to kind of help you succeed at university and beyond university. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. A huge thank you to our anchor, Taiwo, and to all of our speakers this morning for taking time out of their busy schedules to be here to speak to everyone. So I hope you all have a great time at the seminar today. Taiwo, over to you.
Thank you so much for that, Pastor Amy. Okay, so let's just get right into it. Good morning, everybody. My name is Taiwo Yekan. I am currently the Executive Director of Operations and Group Consulting at Daylight Group. And I work directly with the CEO. I have full oversight of the change and transformation portfolio. And I've been supporting the design and delivery of the firm's strategic objectives and core policy. We work with a lot of organizations, cross-sector, so public sector, financial services. And before Daylight, I worked in a number of senior roles within financial services, also here in the UK. Most recently, before my current role, I was head of culture and communications for the Group Financial Crime Hub at NatWest, where I was responsible for the enterprise-wide culture transformation in relation to financial crime. I have over 12 years experience in change and transformation, both, as I said earlier, in the public and private sector. And I've worked across a multiple array of organizations, including the BBC, Transport for London, Legal in General, and AIG. I was also the co-founder and inaugural chair of the Global Black Professionals Network at NatWest Group. And it was an initiative that was run in a bank over 300 years old, and nothing of the sort had been done before. I have a first-class BSc Honours from the University of Plymouth in Human Resource Management and IT, an MSc from the University of Oxford in Major Programme Management, a diploma in Financial Crime Prevention, and I'm a certified Prince 2 and Agile practitioner. So that's a little bit about myself. I'm going to just go straight in and talk a bit about SABU, do a bit of Zoom housekeeping, and then I will introduce our first speaker, Onya Idoko. So the purpose of this event is to share knowledge, experience, and best practice for master's and postgraduate studies in the UK. The UK postgraduate degree is held in very high regard by employers across the globe. And international students studying in the UK are open to the opportunity to improve employability, as well as immerse themselves in a world-class community of academics and students. This is the 5th edition of SABU, as Pastor Amy said there. And the aim of this event is to build awareness so that through cognizance of intersectionality and its constraints, students can better recognize and pulverize, at the very least, prepare for the nuances pertinent to UK postgraduate studies, and also support you in building a follow-on career path post-study. So the central speaking points today will focus on how to progress here in the UK effectively using the speaker's own personal experiences, but also talking to the differences that could exist in educational approaches. For example, if you're pivoting from a course of study in Nigeria to the UK. This event also allows tie-ins for us as a church community into postgraduate communities in universities across the United Kingdom and institutions of higher education. So as you know already, we're on Zoom. So I would ask that you please ensure that you keep your microphone on mute at all times, unless you're invited to speak. And to help keep the background noise to a minimum when you do speak, make sure that you mute your microphone when you're not speaking. When you are, mute your microphone when you're not speaking, but ensure that there's no background noise when you are speaking. And also try to limit distractions when you're in the session. It just helps you to get better value, both from what the speakers are saying, and also engaging with everybody else in the session. Please take notes and also ask as many questions as potentially possible. So having said that, I will introduce our first speaker today, who is Onya Idoko. Onya is the program leader for the MSc in Prosperity, Innovation and Entrepreneurship PI program and a lecturer in PI as well. She is an entrepreneurship scholar and her research interests are in the area of entrepreneurial and organizational innovation. Her work has been published in high-ranking international academic journals. She's currently working on 2 research projects. The first is a study of entrepreneurial resilience in 5 countries, namely UK, China, Malaysia, Philippines, and Thailand. The project is a collaboration of 5 universities and the UN Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific and Asian Development Bank. The second research study is a study of startups and public value generation and is a collaboration with the Indian Institute of Technology in Delhi. Onya is one of the lead researchers for the Asia Prosperity Research Hub, where she leads the theme on technology entrepreneurship for global prosperity. She hosts a new podcast called Life of Pi and is currently studying for a master's in biblical and theological studies. Outside of work, Onya enjoys running and painting. Participants in SABU 5.0, please join me this morning to welcome Onya Idoko, Dr. Onya Idoko.
Thank you, Taiwo. Morning, everyone. Thank you, Pastor Emmy, for having me again. It's such an honor. I would like to thank you, Anula. Should I share my slides or will the slides? Thank you very much. Next slide, please. So the session outline, I will do a quick intro. I'll talk about the modules and module delivery. I'll talk about engagement and participation. And then I'll talk about assessment and feedback last. Next slide, please. I already covered this bit. But I will talk a little bit about our new podcast, which I'd like to invite other people to invite guests to listen to. This will tell you a little bit about our program, the MSc in Prosperity, Innovation and Entrepreneurship. You'll also get a sense of the dissertation. So it's a podcast that tries to start a different type of conversation that is at the intersection of business and what we call prosperity. So when you think about prosperity, we're not talking about the common understanding of prosperity, but prosperity for all in the sense that we're talking about sustainability, but beyond sustainability. Next slide, please. So I want to start off with saying you need to start with a goal. So where are you going? And I say this a lot. I cannot emphasize it. I'm sure it's almost everyone is aware you have to have a goal. You have to start with a goal. And my question to you, as you start your master's, or as you might have already started, you might be in your dissertation at this point, or you're starting in September, my advice would be to start with a goal. Without a goal, you'll accept anything and you will do anything that comes your way. So when I was a student, I came here with the goal of finishing with a distinction. And that meant that every decision I made was driven or shaped by that goal. That meant that when I got a job while studying, I noticed that I was struggling to do my assignments. So I gave up the job. That also meant that if you work your way backwards from that goal, so if you reverse engineer your goal, if your goal is to have a distinction, the way that I did it was, in order to have a distinction, I have to have a distinction in every module that I'm taking. So if I was taking 7 modules in the program, my goal was to get an A in every single module. Having said that, even if you get a C, if you have all A's, if you have A's and a C, the likelihood is you'll get a distinction. But I hope that you can get the gist of it. For me, it was just easier to have it in my mind that I'm aiming for an A in every module, and that would guarantee me that goal of getting a distinction. If your goal is a merit, the truth is that the amount of energy and focus that you put into the program, into your learning, will be very different from if the goal you're aiming for is a distinction. The way you are in the classroom, whether you attend your classes, the questions you ask, whether you ask questions, everything you do will be shaped or driven by this goal that you've set for yourself. So I guess I encourage you to ensure that you set a goal right at the start, all the way to your dissertation. For us, at least on our program, all the 3 programs that we offer in my department, the distinction is actually half of the program. So it carries a whopping 90 credits. If you fail, sorry, not the distinction, I meant to say the dissertation. If you fail the dissertation, it's over really. So my advice is to have that goal. I cannot stress this enough. Next slide, please. So one thing that you also need to bear in mind is thinking about the way that you learn. Many of us would have come from different countries, and maybe this is your first time studying in the UK. You must recognize that the way that teaching happens and the way that learning happens is different, is most likely different from the way it happened in your country. So here now, if you're starting off, you're not starting until September, my advice is that you've learned, you did things one way in your country. My advice is that you have to unlearn sometimes some of what you've learned and relearn. And I'm really grateful to Pastor Emmy for putting this together, just because if I had known this, my first module, I remember my very first module when, I submitted my essay, I got the grade. I think I had 67, but I was so upset because that was not my goal. 67 was not the mark I was aiming for. I was aiming for more like a 70, like a high 70. And the truth is, I had put in so much effort into that essay. And I've heard this from many students. They put in a lot of energy, a lot of time in an essay, and the grades that they were hoping for isn't what they were expecting. Now, why does that happen? Because there must be a disconnect. There's some sort of disconnect between what you think the module leader or tutor is expecting versus what you have, what they really are expecting. So one thing to do is I'll talk about this in some of the other slides, is to understand that recognize that you are in a different environment now. And where I come from, I'm from Nigeria, just in case there are others, some of you are not from Africa, or you're from other parts of the world. Where I come from in Nigeria, and at the time when I was a student, the way that teaching happened was one directional. It was a communication style where your teacher or the module leader spoke at you And the only time you got to talk was when they asked you a question. That was it. We were meant to be quiet. And this teaching style is mainly didactic, which just means it's a one-directional form of communication. The truth is, this is a very passive way of learning. But when you come to the UK, you're learning, you're shifting. In the UK, the way teaching and learning happens shifts from a more passive, next slide, please. It shifts from a more passive approach where your tutor is literally just pouring knowledge into your head and you are a passive learner. You're not doing anything but listening to what they're saying, making as much notes as possible, sometimes probably not even listening. You're shifting from that to what we have in the UK, which is a more participatory approach of learning. In some programs, participation counts for the grade. In some other programs, it's not something that you get a grade for, but it is something that is expected that you participate. Now, for some cultures, this is not how it works because of the power dynamic between the tutor and the student, or the power dynamic between someone older than you and someone younger, that is the student in most cases, and they don't feel as though they can speak up or engage in conversation in class. This is not what we're dealing with here in the UK. If you don't speak while at home, that might have looked like some form of respect and, considering your tutor. Here, that's not what we're looking for. Here, we're looking for students that will engage in conversation, students that will work collaboratively to create new knowledge, to solve problems. We're not looking for someone to sit and make notes and just stay quiet. That's not what we're looking for here. So you have to understand, in a different environment completely. So the key point here is, yes, you've learned, but you've got to unlearn some of the things, some of the attitudes and behaviors, and relearn, pick up on what's happening now. So in essence, we're shifting from we're not just shifting from a passive way of learning to an active way of learning. You also want to shift from shallow, what in education studies is called shallow learning, where you simply learn to pass. Many people did this, and honestly, I've done this before too. You simply learn to pass the module, as opposed to learning to gain deep understanding of what you're being taught. Now, one thing that I always do in my class, my first class, I always tell the students, you pay too much money to stay quiet in this class. If you don't understand something, ask me. Ask a question. If I cannot answer your question, someone in the room will have an answer for you. So my advice is engage. Don't be passive. Don't allow culture get you. Speak up, ask questions. You paid too much. I'm saying it to you. You paid too much to be silent. Get as much as you can. Get value for your money, basically. Apologies, I'm at home, so there's a lot of background noise, so my apologies. What you want to do, or your goal, is to achieve deeper learning, which is a process of learning for application in different contexts. You're trying to understand the concepts or the fundamental concepts so that you can create new knowledge, and I'll talk about this in a couple more slides. Next slide, please. What we're also hoping for when you join your program or your university, what your module leaders or tutors will be hoping for, or what, it's not even a hope, is what will happen eventually. So we're not only shifting from passive learning to active, shifting from shallow learning to deep learning, deeper learning, we're also shifting to you moving towards, as the student, moving towards some form of self-directed learning. And this will involve the use of generative AI, which many of us are aware of. So here I'm talking about perhaps chat-based learning, like the use of ChatGPT. This is a more independent and proactive approach to learning. In other words, you'd be able to take control of your learning experience and leverage this AI to help you. So basically, the introduction of generative AI is that you can personalize your own learning. Your module leaders can even personalize that learning for you. And how do you do that? You can learn more about a topic at your own level. So remember, it's a master's, it's not an undergrad. And usually I tell people, because our program is we accept people from different backgrounds, it's most multidisciplinary. So when I have a student with an economics or an accounting and finance background and they don't understand a lot of the journal papers that we're reading and we're discussing, it's a master's. No one has time to stop and take you through the fundamentals or the basics. You will have to do that catching up yourself. It's only a year. So you'll have to start thinking of, okay, how can I leverage this new technology to help me in my studies? That's something that I think you should be thinking about. How can I catch up more easily and understand some of those technical concepts or theories that might be new to you? You can do that. You can get a simple explanation through these technologies. Next slide, please. The other thing that I'd like you to also consider is start thinking about your dissertation topic early. Don't leave it till the end, because that will just waste time. The truth is that if you start to think about your topic, and this is something I did when I was a student, there was a particular module that I really enjoyed. And so, of course, I went to the module leader and I asked him if he would be my dissertation supervisor, because I loved the module. And I also knew that I wanted to do a PhD, again, back to that point about goals. I knew from just taking his module, I knew that I wanted to do a PhD in that area. So I was, of course, really focused and engaged in that particular module. The module leader was my dissertation supervisor. He helped me a lot. It was really good. And that early thinking helped, just because, so I remember for my dissertation, I think I had 81%. Of course, that is a distinction, but I was thinking about the work, not leaving it till the last minute, but thinking about it early on. Thinking about the topic. My supervisor helped me find some papers. That was really good of him because he didn't actually need to. But one other point that I want to highlight under this topic, or this idea of thinking about your dissertation early, is I find a few students, thank goodness there are few, they choose topics randomly. It has no connection to what they want to do after studying. No connection whatsoever. So you put all that energy into writing this 15,000 word document. At least that is our dissertation, is 15,000 words. And it has nothing to do with your career or the business or whatever it is that you're looking to go out to do. So for me, I say to the students, well, what are you going to do with the dissertation? You can turn it into a book, you can turn it into a paper, you can turn it into a policy brief, you can do so many things with the dissertation. So my advice is be careful when you're choosing your topic. Choose something that is interesting for you and that matters for where you're going after the program. So this is something to bear in mind, thinking about your dissertation topic. I have a student, he's at Cambridge University right now, he's doing a PhD. He already, from term one, he already picked up on his topic. And he said, this is what I want to do, Anya. And I said, then use your master's. If you know, again, back to that, starting with your goals, use your master's to do the literature review that you would need for the PhD anyway, when you move on to the PhD program, because you still have to do that literature review. And, use the master's as the stepping stone. So everything he's doing, he knew to get into Cambridge, you have to have a distinction. There is no way they will take you with anything less. So he knew, this is what I'm working towards. Before he finished, we had to provide a letter to say that he is on track for a distinction. So my advice is start early and choose something that is relevant for you. Next slide, please. And can I just check, Taiwo, how many minutes do I have left? Or anyone, if you could just put that in the chat for me, please, and let me know how many minutes I have left. So in terms of engagement and participation, I already touched a little bit on this. Ask questions in class. Don't be shy. Don't feel like you have to, oh, I can't speak. If you're more introverted, ask your peers, like tap into the knowledge of your peers. Some of them have studied here and know how things work. Contribute to class discussions. I have 10 minutes. Thank you, Taiwo. Ask for help from the tutor, from peers. I remember when I was a student, when I didn't understand something, I would not chase, I'm not that, it's not that deep. I would follow the module leader after class and I would check, is this what you're saying? Is this what it means? What are you looking for in the assessment? And they would explain this to me so that my understanding would align with their understanding. When it comes to teamwork, my advice is, and I see this as well, my advice is get out of your comfort zone. Don't stay within groups of people that look like you or come from the same part of the world as you. The truth is you will not learn anything new. You haven't come here to speak to someone that you speak to every day already, probably. And if you look at the research on social network studies, people that come from groups that are more homogeneous. So when you have people that you have strong ties to, that is, these are your close friends, these are people that you relate with more, no new knowledge comes out of that kind of association, to be honest. Because you talk frequently. You probably even think quite alike. What you want, and I've seen this, which is quite sad, but I honestly don't force students I try not to force them into groups. I let them form their own groups. Get out of your comfort zone. Get into a group of people that you don't know their culture, and learn from them and let them learn from you as well. Be open. This will help you get the top marks. And I'm speaking from experience. And based on research, when you have groups that are different, you have, and most of you probably have heard this, diverse teams, etc. When you have groups that are different, they produce the best work. If they complement each other very nicely. And there are so many other benefits of working within diverse groups. So my advice is make friends with people that are from different parts of the world from you. Next slide, please. So in terms of assessment and feedback, ensure that you understand the assessment. I've seen this a lot. I have people who they've completely missed it. I've asked a question, they've answered. I asked question A, they answered question F. And I'm wondering, I can't even give you the mark because you've provided a wonderful answer, but to a completely different question. So my advice to handle that situation is when your module leader says there's a formative session, in terms of teaching and learning, we have formative assessments, we have summative. Formative, if you think of the word, formative stages of a child, if you think about it, is to provide you with support as you do the assessment. Some tutors will ask for drafts, some will ask you for an outline. Take advantage of these things. So ask them, what does this question mean? Tell them what your understanding of the assessment question is. And if you've missed it, they'll tell you if you've missed it. So my advice is engage with the tutor really well. Engage with the teaching assistant. Check for samples. Most modules will give you samples of prior work that have done well. So you can see, you can look at that work and ask yourself, why did this piece of work get a distinction? So what we do is we provide distinction, merit, and basically the rest of it, which is fail or pass or whatever it is. When you look at that distinction, ask yourself, what is it about this work that makes it a distinction? And how can I do the same? The other thing is start early, give yourself time to complete your assignments, because remember, the first draft is not the perfect draft. It's a process of creation. It's a creative process when you're writing essays or putting together your slides. And then read through the marking criteria or rubric, and I'll talk about the rubric in a few minutes. Read through that marking criteria, because when we're marking, that's what we're using to mark, which is why I said When you've not answered the question, you've answered a different question, then I'm looking at my marking criteria and I'm thinking, I can't even give you the mark because you've not answered the question. Next slide, please. Fail fast and iterate. This comes from the Lean Startup methodology. Take advantage of those formative feedback sessions, as I said. When I have students, every time the student has sent me, so I will usually say to the students, send me your outline. If I have time, send me a draft. And all the students that send their drafts, I can see, it's almost like a skeleton or a roadmap, an outline of your work. I can see if they're going in the right direction or if they're going in the wrong direction. If they're going in the right direction, that tells me one thing, this student is good because they got it. And I tell them you're going in the right direction in essence. And if they're not going in the right direction, I begin to, it's like course correcting. It's like a GPS type system. I'm telling you, no, you're going left, but you need to go right. That can't happen if you don't send a draft. So when your tutor asks you to send a draft or an outline, take advantage of it. Don't let that session pass you by. Plagiarism. Please do not plagiarize. It causes a whole host of problems. You face panels, you create paperwork for everybody. Avoid it if you can. Do not self-plagiarize. Self-plagiarizing means that you've submitted an assignment on one module, and then you have another assignment and you feel like I can just copy-paste from my other module. After all, I wrote the work. That is self-plagiarism. You plagiarized your own self. That is still academic misconduct, and you want to avoid that. Ask for help. If you have a learning and development team, you have a writing team, you have all sorts of support provided, take advantage of these things. Self-check, sense check your essays and practice your presentations. Don't go to a presentation where you haven't practiced. Practice all the time. Next slide, please. Always look for ways to improve. This is linked to that fail fast point. But that fail fast is pre-submitting the work. This point here of always looking for ways to improve is after you've gotten that piece of work. So when I got that 67 in my first module, what I did was I looked for a student that had an A. I looked for a student that got the highest mark because I wanted to see what she did that I did not do. I read my feedback, I spoke to the module leader. Of course, I came with a different understanding of what an essay should look like. That was what impacted on that 67. That's what led to that 67, to be honest. I examined that girl's work and I saw where I could improve, areas for improvement. That helped me with the next one, with the next piece of work and the other. So I started to understand, okay, what the module leaders are looking for. Read the feedback, whether it's in the form of a rubric or comments. Read that feedback. Schedule a meeting with the module leader. If you don't understand the feedback, book a meeting with them during their office hours and ask them to give you more insights into what they mean. Sometimes they might write feedback and it's not clear to you. Ask them to make it clear to you through a meeting. Next slide, please. So this rubric I mentioned before, it contains the marking criteria. Well, sometimes you get a marking criteria and that's all you get. You won't get to an actual rubric. The rubric is when it has weighting. So each category or criteria has a particular weighting with it. And for each criteria, there are different levels of performance. And I'll show you an example. What is expected depends on the assessment. So you'll see there might be a marking criteria for a literature review, which will be different for if they asked you to write a blog or a presentation. Read that marking criteria. And it's usually available along with the assessment. It will usually be introduced in week 1 of your studies. Then you can use the rubric to self-assess, to evaluate your work. Next slide, please. This is an example of a rubric. And you can see understanding of knowledge issues and knowledge questions, that's 20%. Quality of analysis, 30%. Characteristics, 15%. You can see the grading at the bottom. A/A+, B+/A-. And you can see all the way at the top. So the first row, it says excellent, very good, satisfactory. You can see what is expected of an excellent piece of work. Now, if your goal, back to the beginning, if your goal is to get a distinction, then you know that that first row is what you should be concerned about, and you're not interested in the rest of it. So get that marking criteria. Sometimes you won't have that percentage, the weighting, and look at what they're looking for, because this is what we use to mark, literally. Next slide, please. I'm going to end with this Bloom's taxonomy. And this is something from, this is just, it's sort of a framework for pedagogical framework. And what Bloom shows us here is the ways of thinking or learning, or proof of, or your understanding or proof of learning. Now, if you want those top marks, the truth is that you're not going to get them if all you can do is remember or recall. If all you can do is regurgitate information that has been given to you, that to me has not shown that you've learned anything. You've just been able to recall. So you're going to get the low marks. If you move to the next level of this hierarchy, and you can understand, that's good. And all of these levels that you can see, it's a pyramid, which means that it's building on each other. You move beyond remembering and regurgitating to understanding these concepts and theories and ideas, and you're able to explain them to someone or paraphrase them, which is good. Then you move on to the level of applying. You can apply this information. You can use it to solve a problem or interpret something, no problem. That's fine. But this isn't what will give you the top marks. And I'm talking 70s upwards. And to be honest, 60 to me is not a top mark. So you're talking 70 upwards. Is when you enter into the realm of analyzing upwards. And analyzing, you're able to compare the knowledge you now have. You can organize it, you can take it apart. You understand the underlying assumptions of this particular concept or theory. And then you can now you can evaluate that information. You are critically thinking about it by comparing different arguments, evaluating these arguments, and you can take a stand. You're acting like a judge in a way. This is one argument, this is another argument, and you evaluate them, and then you give us your stance. And the final point, the pinnacle, is that you're able to create. This is every teacher's dream, that you got the fundamental principles. And now you can design, you can create, you can solve complex problems based on this knowledge. And I'm sure you know this. So when you understand the theory deeply, you really understand it, you can apply it in different settings. You can use it to solve different problems. So it's that analyze, evaluate, and create. It's when you start to hit those levels. This is where you get the A. This is where you make my life easy when I'm marking. So I'll stop there and I'll take questions later, probably during the panel. Thank you. Last slide, I think, is my LinkedIn and etc. Yes. So feel free to send me an invite on LinkedIn or connect via Twitter. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Onya, for sharing that. So we're just going to move straight on. I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Olugbenga David Adebiyi is a member of the Chartered Institute of Personal Development, MCIPD. He holds a master's in International Human Resource Management, a BA in Business and HR Management, and is currently a recruitment project manager within the NHS. David has supported supported and managed several NHS health sector and NHG Housing Association and NMC legal sector initiatives with workforce strategy as a business partner, recruitment manager, and lead recruitment project manager. He's a recruitment specialist and consultant with international recruitment experience. David has implemented several innovative approaches to improve employee retention and workforce management. He has led and implemented a recruitment project of over £12 million to improve mental health in Southwest London. He has implemented different strategies to talent retention, attraction, branding, and marketing. David is also a business owner. Participants at SABU 5.0, please join me this morning in welcoming Olubenga David Adebi.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Tao. And then a wonderful session, Dr. Oya. A big shout out to Pastor Emmy for this platform. And I believe it's an honor for me to be here. So welcome to all our participants. And I'm just going to go straight into it. So my speaking this morning will focus on our participants who are looking to come into the UK to study, or you're currently in the UK. And I would also speak on the journey of how you can succeed within your academics and also have a guidance to your career pathway. Can we go into the next slide, please? Thank you. I'm not going to dwell too much on this. If you could hit the next button, thank you. Sorry, can you go back a step? Go back to, thank you very much. So I've been within my field for over 10 years. I've worked as a recruiting expert, a recruiting consultant with international experience. I have recruited in India, in Ireland, in Nigeria, and I have led, like Tao said, on different recruitment projects, ensuring that the workforce of an organization is well maintained and well managed. Thank you. So let's move on to the next slide because of our time. Right. So I believe this is important. It's imperative that we have a foundation for anyone that is planning on coming into the UK to study, i.e., your master's or be it your BA. And the reason why I want to touch on this is when I came into the UK for my BA, me and some couple of guys came in together and they lost track. Some of them didn't finish the program and they went back to their country. And what I later then understood was it is important that you have a revelation, you have a conviction, you know that this is your will, this is your purpose for coming into this country to study. And that will give you a will and a drive to pursue what you want to pursue in this country. And it's important that I kind of touch on that. You don't want to waste your time, you don't want to waste your money, you don't want to waste your effort. You must have that conviction. Next, please. And after you've got your conviction, you want to then do your research on the universities that you are looking to come into to study. And what do I mean? Is your university, is this university credible? There are many universities out there that all they're after is your money. And the models and the quality of the teaching that you will get would not be credible, would not be effective, would not really help you when it comes to your career pathway. And I'll give you an example. So when I finished my BA at the University of Wales, I went straight away into my master's, which is a credible university, University of Greenwich. However, what they did was unfair to international students. So we were separated from the UK-based students. We were paying more in fee, they're paying less. But when you look at the curriculum and the models and the support that's been given to them compared to our one, is no match. So they had work placement that could set them up before they even finish the masters to get a job, at a senior level. They also had their program linked to a professional governing body, which was CIPD. So if you've not done your research properly, you might fall victim to some universities in this country. So I will implore you to do your research and ensure that you are getting value for money. Next, please. Thank you. And the next is the location and the support that you need to think about before making a decision on what university you want to come into. Is the location right for you? Is the support, would you get the support that you need? You don't want to go to a place where you're going to be by yourself. You don't want to go to, I don't know, maybe not up north where the support you will get will be limited. So these are the advice I would suggest and advice that you look into before making that decision to apply for a university. Moving on, please. Mentor. I would advise that you get a mentor. If you are currently in the UK and you started your program, get an academical mentor. Because when I started my BA, I had a mentor, which he was my senior lecturer, John, and he guided me through. He knew my strengths, he knew my weaknesses. We would normally meet quarterly to review my performance, and it was he played an important role in how I have kind of maneuver and then move through my career and even going ahead to do my masters. And I tell you one thing, the advice he gave me was really helpful. So I would always advise that you seek a mentor who has an interest in you and who's willing to pay the price to guide you through how you can, move on and then step up in your academics. Next slide, please. Yep, no, next slide, please. Thank you. So after university, what next? What do you need to do next after you've finished, or when you're planning on finishing university? What do you need to do? So I would suggest, like Dr. Oyen said, set a target for yourself. If you're coming towards the end of your program, what do you want to do? Do you want to start in? Do you want to go into work? Do you want to join another master's? Do you want to go for your PhD? You need to have a 5 years, 10 years plan when it comes to your career, when it comes to your academics. And this would help you to know if you are achieving and if you're working towards your set goals. Like I mentioned earlier on, have a mentor. It is imperative. I'll keep laying more emphasis on you getting a mentor. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. They've done it. They've been there. They've learned some mistakes. They've made some mistakes. It is important that you learn from them and you do not make the same mistakes you're making. So once you set a target for yourself, find someone who is going through that same path that you're planning on going through, and then let them teach you and guide you through what you need to do, what are the things you need to be aware of. And I'll give you an example. So when I discovered that my program when I was in my master's is not linked to a professional governing body, my mentor then advised me that, listen, what you can also do is to get your experiences within your field and the masters that you've got, and then you can put in an application with the Chartered Institute of Personal Development, and they can review this and decide if you need some more modules for you to become a qualified member of this governing body. So if I had not done my research or speak to someone who's gone through the same process as I intended to, I wouldn't have been able to get the CIPD that I got earlier before I even finished my master's. So in a way, I didn't get it with the UK student, but I got it at the same time that they got this. So with the guidance of a mentor, and that's why I am laying emphasis on you getting a mentor. Let's move on. Build an effective relationship. Build your network. Have people like Dr. Onye alluded on earlier on, people that you can learn new things from. Get them, be involved in them, ask questions, how have they done what they've done, build effective relationship. And I'll give you an example. Towards the end of COVID, I met a senior consultant in my field, and then we built relationship together. We kept checking up on one another, and all of a sudden she called me to say, David, I have this position. It's a project lead, consultant role, project lead for an NHS organization. I have spoken to the director, and she's willing to meet you. So I met with the director, and the first thing the director said to me was, "I've heard so much about you." You know, when she meant so much, she meant positive stuff on the things that I have done in the past by this friend that I've met. And she didn't interview me. She just said, you know, "Are you willing to support us?" And I said, "Of course, yes." So the relationship that you build, effective one that you build, would open doors for you, would open opportunities for you. So you can start building this relationship that would set you up and open doors when that time comes. Next, please. Seek opportunities. Start looking for opportunities. Do not settle, for anything less. Try and keep trying. Do not give up. If you have set a target for yourself, and if it's not happening, keep trying. And that's what I'll say on that. Next, please. Thank you. If you could just bring it all up, so that thank you. That's fine. So volunteering, this is important. When I was during our time, 12 years ago, when I was doing my BA, my master's, the labor market is not as polluted as it is now. So it was difficult for you to get some certain job at that time. But what I did through mentoring, the information I got was, David, for you to step into your career ladder, for you to step into that space that you've set a target to get into, you could take on volunteering. And I know some of you might say, well, if I take on volunteering, how do I make some money? How do I look? I know some of us might bring our family down here. How do I look after my family? So there are volunteering that would require you to come into the office once a week. And that's all you need. That is just a breakthrough you probably need for you to get that experience. Because while I was trying to find a job doing my master's at that time with my BA, some of the feedback I got was, you haven't got experience. You haven't got experience. And that's always been the feedback and the rejection that I get. So, and I wondered, how do I get this experience? And the opportunity I got was volunteering. So I volunteered. And guess what? It wasn't for long. It was for 3 months, once a day a week. And I was doing all the jobs so that I could get my money in and I look after myself. So after 3 months, an opportunity came up. I got a role. And that's how I started my journey. And 6 months I was there, I got another role. And that's how, I was able to step from different roles to where I am today. So you can don't be open up to volunteering. Be open up to different ideas and different opportunity, so that you can just step into that career path that you aim to step into. And I'll say, develop yourself. This gathering is one of is an avenue that you think would make an impact to you, would bring more knowledge to you. And I'll give you an example. When I started my role at Guys and Thomas, and that was my role after my volunteering, I just went on to learning and development portal, and all the trainings that were there, I just put myself up for. Leadership training, diversity training, difficult conversation training, and name them. I just want to develop myself. I attended seminars. Some books I had to buy, some I had to seek my mentor to give me some things that would develop me. So keep developing yourself. Get yourself ready for that big time, that big opportunity when it comes. Don't be too comfortable. Do not be too comfortable. In my years of working as a recruiter, I have met people who were my senior when I started. And I'm saying this to give God glory. I'm not taking on of this, to give God praise. I have actually surpassed them because they sat comfortable, and some of them have been in that role for 15, 10 years. But I felt, no, there's so much for me to do than to just sit here. If I get into a new role, I want to learn what is missing. Once I've learned it, I use what I've learned to get into my next role. So you must have an understanding of the reason why you are taking some certain roles. With this role or this job opportunity that I'm taking, would they add to me so that I can, step into my next phase in my career? As I said, remember, we've got a target, i.e., whatever it is. You want to become the CEO, you want to become a CEO and become the director, you set yourself a target. So what are the things, what are the knowledge and the skills and experience you need to gather that will take you to your destination? So you sitting comfortably, you sitting where you are, will not help you get to where you need to get to. So we have a goal, we have a target, so we cannot be comfortable. But again, you must know the season to move. You must identify, it is time for me to learn, it's time for me to move, and I'm moving, all right? And lastly, your character will sustain you. What I mean by that? I mean by your willingness to be trustworthy, to be loyal, to be exceptional, to give all in all that you do. You don't want to be the one that will come to work late. You don't want to be the one that will shy away from responsibility when they're trying to, delegate tasks. You say, no, I'm not interested. No, you want to take on tasks. You want to learn. You want to be flexible. You want to be adaptable. You want to be loyal. You want to be trustworthy. You want to show value. You want to give value. You want to show honor to your colleagues, to your manager, to your organization. And this will sustain you and pave way for you. If I tell you one thing, if an opportunity comes for promotion, they will do an indices within the team and think about who has been good, who has been consistent, who has been exceptional. And you want to be exceptional amongst your peers, amongst your colleagues, so that when that big shot comes, you would be the first person to be picked. Right, thank you. Let's move on to the next slide. So it's important I talk about this challenge because some people come into doing the masters, doing the degree, they got distracted. So when I came in, I mentioned that earlier on, when I started my BA, University of Wales, I was working in a prison, and we have some people from my background that are working in that same prison. People that have been in this country for a long time, and they took interest because I was young, and they said, "What are you studying?" And I tell them I'm studying human resources, and they go, "Oh, that kind of field that you are into are not meant for people of my color. That I need to rethink." And at that time, there was this strong conviction about what I wanted to do. And I said to them, "Well, we shall see." I said to them, "We shall see." And that kind of, in a way, kind of gave me even more conviction to prove them wrong. And what I started doing is I started, when I see them, I just wave my hand to them from far, because I don't want them to start sowing seeds that would kind of, in a way, deflect me from or distract me from where my vision and what I wanted to achieve is focusing on. So the people you associate yourself with when you come into this country matters. It is imperative that you find like-minded people, again, people that have gone ahead of you, people that would bless you, that would become a support system for you to get to where you want to get to. So, and that links to support. What support are you seeking? Look within your community, in whatever you're situated, and find support and find help. Google up, and then you see some information on that. And then I think this is my last slide. If you could please click on the last slide, thank you. And I have had this, in the last couple of years, how do I get a job? I've had people come to me, I need a job, how do I get a job? And it is important that we have the upper hand in this current labor market. Statistics shows there are over 1.1 vacancies in the UK, and the sources there You can check it out. I've put the link in there for you as well. National statistics. This was Q1 2023 report, very recent. So the jobs are there for you to get. However, some of the things that I've had people say, and people trying to understand the system, is it seems like they don't know what they want. And that's what I put there. Know what you want. Know what you want. So you finish your master's, you finish your degree, just don't settle for anything else. Don't settle for anything less. I've had people who worked as a bank manager, who works as a senior manager, senior roles in that country, come into this country and saying to me, I just want anything. I just want something. And I said, no, you just don't need to get anything. You just don't need to get anything. I just want support worker. I just want, okay. No, you can use your experience that you've got from wherever you're coming from to build and design a CV. So therefore, know what you want. Once you know what you want, the next step is to design your CV. Make your CV to interpret what you want. Get the job description of the job, of the desired role that you want, that you anticipate or you see yourself doing, and then benchmark your CV against it. Again, there are some experiences you might not have, but to show your understanding of any gap in your CV, show any gap of experience and skills in your CV. Design your CV, get experts to review your CV for you. There's many information on YouTube, on Google that you can check, and many templates that you can benchmark against. And be visible. Once you've designed your CV, you've made yourself attractive, put yourself out there. Be visible. If you are not on LinkedIn, set up an account. If you're on LinkedIn, update your record, update your details. Get in contact with recruiting experts, recruiting agency, Venn Group, Indeed, Total Jobs. There are many out there. Do some Google search engine. It will come up. Call them up. Introduce yourself. Send your CV over. Email them up. And just make yourself visible. Understand how to complete a good application. I've seen many people fall short in this area, and I think it's important I touch on it. And I hope someone will be blessed with what I'm saying this afternoon. Understand how to complete a good application. I've seen many applications in my entire career, and I tell you one thing, sometimes I get pissed off because I see application and I say to myself, is this person serious? No effort, no even time to put any details, just your name and then the support statement. I like this job. I will do better. No, that is not good enough. You need to take time to understand the JD, understand the role, and put in good quality application that will make me, the hiring manager, want to read your application. So there are many phases to application. So there are some sections that will require you to put in some filtering questions. Some questions will be hacked. So these questions, just don't put anything, please. Take your time again to understand the role and then explain, give credible answers to these questions. These are questions that will determine if you're going to get the job or you're going to be shortlisted through to the next stage. So they are value-based questions. So read up the values of the organization, read up the JD, and then put in. You don't need to rush it. It will take some couple of days. Go back to it. And lastly, the supporting statement. Again, like I mentioned, the supporting statement will require you to pour your understanding, your experiences, your skills, all that is pertaining to you being credible to be called for an interview. Write a credible supporting statement. If you need guidance, if you need support, there are loads of information on Google. Take your time and look into this. Lastly, because of our time, interview techniques. This is very important because I have seen people come to an interview You can tell that they could do the job, but the way they structures the answer has really let them down. Hence why they don't get a job. And there's something we call STAR techniques. STAR stand for the situation. And this is how you kind of structure your answer when you're being asked scenario-based questions. STAR techniques. STAR, you can Google it up. So much information, you can check this. STAR techniques, which stand for the situation, the task, the action, and the result. So when you structure your answer based on these techniques, thank you, Pastor Emi. When you structure your answers based on these techniques, you are given the panel a full understanding of how you would do some certain task or take some certain responsibility if you are being given that role. I found out that people struggle in this area. So I will implore us to do so and then do ensure that we tidy up our interviewing skills. I think there's one more, if you could click next, and I think there's one information there, please. Thank you. So there's a link that I put on there. I know, again, people keep asking me these questions. I need, can you go up a bit, sorry. I need a role that could sponsor me. I want to stay in the UK. There are shortage of occupation on the Gov website that you can go into. The link is there. You can Google it. So there's some roles that when you apply for, the organization will sponsor you on a certificate or sponsorship Tier 2 visa. And if you have any question, I'll take that after the session. Thank you. Thank you very much. Over to you, Taiwo.
Thank you so much, David. What a fantastic session that has been already. Let's just, very conscious of time, jump right in and bring on our third and final speaker this morning. Just in terms of housekeeping, there will be an opportunity to ask questions straight after all three panelists have spoken. So Omomi Olunloyo, Talks Omomi Olunloyo, is the director of Orchardville Consulting Limited. She's a food technologist with 15 plus years experience in the food industry. She has prior experience working as a senior manager with companies such as Alara Whole Foods, where she led the company to its first AA grade in BRC audits, and she managed successful product launches for major UK retailers such as Morrison's, Co-op, Holland & Barrett, and Ocado. Her expertise is in new product development, specification, food quality, food safety, food legislation, hygiene, environmental standards, and quality systems. She has an MSc in food safety and control and HND in food science and technology, as well as several certifications, including food safety, HACCP, and health and safety. Turks is also the founder and CEO of Purple Patch Cereals, an award-winning breakfast cereal company. Beyond Food, Turks is the founder of the production company Peacock Omomi Production. Her debut movie, Hustle, which was released in all Nigerian cinemas on July 29, 2021, and premiered at Odeon Cinema in Greenwich, UK on the 3rd of December 2021, is now coming to Amazon Prime this summer. Turks has appeared on several major platforms, both radio and digital print. She is a recipient of various accolades, including a nomination for Entrepreneur of the Year and Mentor of the Year at the Whole Life Activation Awards. She is an international best-selling author with 5 books, including Fork and Spoon, 7 Key Elements of Food Production Development to Launch. Turks uses her own story to motivate, encourage, and empower other women. She's a plain-spoken, ever-bubbly individual. She has a knack for simplifying circumstances, breaking them down into step-by-step formulas that are easy to follow, make sense, and can be applied instantly, so you can start seeing results right away. The future holds no limits with Turks. SABU Participant 5.0, please join me this morning in welcoming Omomi Olunloyo, our third speaker. Thank you.
Just unmuted. Awesome, everyone. A very good afternoon, morning, whatever part of the world you're watching this right now, because it's 12:13 according to my laptop. And I'm so excited to be here. It's always a privilege. I count it an honor to stand in front of, I say stand, but I'm sitting in front of millions of people, because that's what I say. I see global every time I speak. And SABU is just an amazing opportunity that I wish I had when I came to the UK in 2004. So I want to thank KingsWord International Church London. I want to thank the pastor. I want to thank the host and everyone who is here for making this possible. And thank you for joining as well. Without you, we couldn't be having this. So let's go straight into the slides. So I have a quick summary and overview of what I will be talking about. And from my slides that you can see, I'm going to be talking about my journey here in the UK from 2004. And I'll go straight to my first role that I got when I, after being here for 6 months. You say it took me 6 months to get a job. Exactly. We're going to talk about that. And then I'm going to be talking about London South Bank University, where I did my master's, a bit of student experience. And the last picture that you see there, that's me leaving my last role. Insurance by Sea, where I was helping them as the technical manager. Next slide, please. So that's an overview of what I will be talking about for a snapshot. And you can see how I look, how life has happened. We're grateful to God. So now let's talk about the beginning. I told you we're starting from the very beginning. I have my notes here to help me. So if I'm looking to the left or right, because I have my amazing notes that guides me, because I want to make sure I say some things. Like they say, I can talk for Africa. So let's go into it now. So the first point, I came into the UK. I came back to the UK in 2004. And so prior to that, my first basic education, Nigeria. So I had my primary, my secondary, and my college. My college was Yaba College of Technology for my HND. Now we'll start from there. But I just want to give a bit of history in terms of how I got into food. For as many people who know from everything they said, I'm a foodie, I'm a food technologist. And so I started my ND as an engineer. A lot of people don't know that. Yes, electrical electronics. I started in Federal Polytechnic Offa as an engineer. And and this is where I'm going with my story. So please follow me. There's a story in what I'm saying. First semester, going into the second semester, they pulled us out, a couple of us out, and they said to us, oh, we have to move you from this class. You are not in the right class. We're like, excuse me? What do you mean we're not in the right class? Apparently, again, parents, if you're here, for children, I'm hoping you will use this well. There are subjects that you need to meet, let's use that word, to qualify for a particular program. So I'm doing electrical electronics. I did not do economics. Because I did not do economics, I was chucked out of the class. Literally, that's what happened. So I was a mixture of a science student and an art student. So what that means is that if you look at my subject, I did the maths, English, physics, chemistry, biology, and then I did home economics. I did literature in English. What else did I do? I did Yoruba, but basically, because I didn't do economics, I was chucked out of the class. That's where I'm going. So in terms of subject, I just want you to think about it right now. So if you're going into a school right now, make sure that your background degree is not going to be a reason why they throw you out of the class, because that's what happened to me. So I moved. They gave me two options, computer technology and food technology. My father nudged me gently into food technology. He was working with WAMCO at that time, that is called Friesland Campina right now, in Ogba, Ikeja. I said, go into the food industry. Food industry, you can't lose with food. And that's how my life changed. So I just wanted to give that background knowledge. So you won't think I started with food from the beginning. No, I didn't. Now, finished my HND in Yaba College of Technology, and I came back to the UK. So my intention of coming to the UK was to do my master's. That was the beginning. Let's go back to school. Let's do the master's. I was young, 22, 23 as at that time. Like, let's go do master's. And so I came here very excited and I started applying. In fact, I started applying before I came into the UK, but I thought, you know what, let's get in here. We'll sort it all out. So I didn't apply from Nigeria. I came into the country and I started applying. And one thing that was very clear as I was applying was they said to me, oh, you have a HND. Again, notes. So please listen, follow me, another note here. Oh, you have a HND. You have to go and do a BSc before you do your master's. I'm like, you're talking to the wrong person. I'm not going back to do a BSc. I want to do a master's. And someone else said, oh, why don't you try graduate scheme? I went through all that process and said, oh, we need a BSc. So after countless rejections, you don't want to know the amount of applications I made, which I'm sure you can relate to. But in case you can't, I wrote a lot of applications. I know how to write. I wrote a lot of applications and I was rejected. So in those seasons, I thought to myself, what do I do? Next steps, I said to myself, I said, okay, Tokes, you have two things now. You can either go back and do the BSc they're asking you to do, or you do something else. So I needed to define what something else was. And I chose the latter, something else. So eventually, after a lot of relaxing and, thinking about, okay, Tokes, what is the way forward for you? I said, okay, let's go and get a job. Now I'm moving to the next phase now, looking for the UK work experience. So I thought, okay, let's leave school for now. Let's go get a job. Let's get the experience, and then we'll see how that turns out. I'll see where my life will steer me to. In between that, I explored a lot of things. I went to the library to get a bit research. So I want to encourage everyone, use your library. Use your library. They have amazing resource in there. The library was my day in and day. If it was my job, allow me to use that. I wake up in the morning, we wake up at 5 o'clock. So I was literally resuming in the library like I was going to work. And the reason behind that was because once I started the application process, quickly, as you can imagine, I got lots of rejection letters. As quickly as I was sending them, I was quickly getting, we are so sorry to tell you that you were rejected on this occasion. In fact, I filed them for a bit before I eventually threw up them because I thought this is just depression. So what did I do? I decided to find out why I was being rejected. And for a lot of them, they said, you don't have the UK work experience, which you would have heard across all our amazing speakers here today. You don't have, I'm like, what is this UK work experience? Can you imagine if you're like me, who just came into the UK? I thought it was a qualification. I started Googling UK work experience certification courses. That's what I did. I did that for a bit until it dawned on me when I spoke to a few people. Who you meet, who you hang around matters, like David said. Yes, your network will definitely take you far from when you get into the UK. For me, look, let me don't jump. Let's go. I'll tell you that at the end in terms of my lessons learned. And so after struggling for a bit in terms of understanding the UK work experience, and finally I met someone who said to me, there is no certificate, darling. All you have to do, all it means is that you have worked in the UK. I'm like, are you joking me? No, we're not. That's exactly what it means. So I thought, okay, I need to look for this. I need to work in the UK to get this UK work experience. And so I went to the library, continued going to the library, and I started reading books on CV writing, cover letters. In fact, I became a pro at that time. I was just writing CVs, changing them, tweaking them, updating them, and all of that. I also did a bit of learning. So what that means that every free resources I was able to find from the library, they'll say, oh, they're doing a course here on CV writing. I'm going to go there and do the course. They're doing a course on goal setting, time management, conflict management, customer care. I use all the resources that were available to me from the library very, very well. So I want to say to you, go to the library. I'm saying it again, go to the library. You cannot imagine the availability of resources that are available right there. In fact, speak to the librarian when you get to the desk in terms of information you want. And so because of that, I got a lot of qualifications, free qualifications, because I went to the library and I applied for all this. And that helped me to build my CV, understand how to prepare for an interview, what to wear, you know, the colors, the combination, how to respond to questions that was asked to me for that interview. So all I was doing was just laying the foundation for when I get the job. Then I went to register to agencies, and I was told you can't apply to any agency. Because I was in the food industry, I need to apply to specific agencies that dealt with food. So if you are looking for a job, don't spray it wild, go exactly, narrow it to exactly the niche to where exactly you're going. So that's what I did. So I registered, and by the grace of God, I got my first job. Woohoo! Yes, I got my first job, and it meant that I had to leave London because I was living with my mom at that time in North London. I had to go to Derby all the way, all by myself. Yes. And so I got an accommodation there and I moved. And that's how I got my first job in the lab. And I'll tell you about that job. It was similar to what I was doing in Nigeria before I left. So when the recruiters were speaking to me, what would you like to do? I said, I want to work in the food industry. And they were like, we can't give you anything but what was your last job, because that will be very similar and people will believe you. And so that's what I did. So I went to the lab because the last job I did before I left Nigeria was working in the lab. So I got my first job in Derby. Best job ever, I must say. The company has folded up right now, but that was the best job ever. So now I'm moving quickly now to lessons learned college to career. I'm going to introduce that by saying that after that first job that I got, it's kind of like an opener. And that's the word I will use. It opens the door. All of a sudden, it's like everyone sees you. It's like you are like this, and all of a sudden, everyone can see you. All of a sudden, I could not apply for jobs and get positive feedback. Before it was like, even just the CV, they'll tell you were unsuccessful. Now I was attending interviews. So that was amazing. So I came back after this, got a contract job, agency job at that time for Christmas. I applied for my first job directly now to a company because now I had confidence. Now I had the UK work experience. I knew how to write a letter and how to prepare for an interview. So please prepare for an interview. Learn how to work your CV. Build your confidence. Know what to wear for an interview. And I applied and I was called. During the interview, another thing I want to quickly say, my first permanent job, I applied to be a baker. And that's production in food technology in terms of the arm. During the interview, I was pulled aside and they said to me, oh, you've done brilliantly, but we think you are suited somewhere else. I'm like, okay, where is that? And they said, we think you'll be good in administration in the office, and we don't have that position, but we want to create it for you. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Miracles does happen. And so because of who I am and the person I have built myself up to be, a role that never existed before was created because I came for that interview for a job totally different. So my life changed, for those who know food a bit, in terms of the structure, from production in terms of hands-on making food to actually technical, which is where we are the brain, allow me to use that word, in terms of the quality systems, the quality prevention, safety for food. And so that's how I was shifted on that day. And they said, we will offer you something else. It's a Monday to Friday. The other job was a shift job, 4 p.m., 4 on, 4 off, 4 p.m. You know, it's 4 on, 4 off anyway, but it was kind of like shift. So this is a Monday to Friday office job. Like, hallelujah, I love it. And so that's how, again, my life changed for the second time into technical production. So leaving production alone and moving into technical. And so that's how I started my journey. And I'll say two things about that. One, the moment I got that job, it was 16,000 as at 2005. The next job I was going to get after that was 20,000 naira. And the reason I'm saying that is that when you add value to yourself, when you learn and you progress in the career that you're in, you get more money. So it's not about leaving a job to get another job, but your value needs to be up so that your money, it will show in what people are willing to offer you. So, you know, I talked about lessons learned college to career. This is what I learned. Lesson from college to career. One, if I was going to do it again, or should I tell you first of all what I did? I'll tell you what I did. What I did was, when I joined London South Bank University, you are saying, how did I join or what happened? Because I said I was working. I'll tell you about that. So in 2019, after working for two companies, I saw everything going on and I felt, okay, now I think I'm ready to go back to school. So what I did is that I looked through the schools now, because I'm now armed. I understand the education system. I understand the UK system a bit more because I have taken time out to study it. And so I applied for London. I was very specific. I didn't apply to 10 schools, one school, London South Bank University, to do a master's in food safety and control. And so I got the opportunity to write a proposal, a letter to Dr. Delias at that time. I believe she's retiring right now. Amazing, amazing woman. Fantastic. She helped my life. And she was very, very warmly to me and open to me. I'm a very happy person. I hope that I translated that, and she wanted me in the school. And she helped me and guided me in the direction of how to present myself and go through the interview process. Because according to her, you have a HND. We don't take students with an HND. But for you, we will make an exception. So this is me saying out to everyone who is thinking that you have an HND, you can't go directly to masters. Me, poster boy, poster girl, yes, I did it. From a HND, I went straight to a master's. I did not do it 1 year. I did not go back for a BSc. And so that's what happened. With her help, you know, and also my company that I was working with, because they needed to sign as reference. I chose a few people in the current company I was working in that I wanted to go back to school. And so with all of that, I applied and I got into South Bank University. So what did I do? Once I got the admission, I looked out for people who went to South Bank University that I knew. I reached out to them, I'm going back to school, I'm going back to school. And then I got a few people who were in the school, and I got all their notes. I got all their exams and books, everything. I had like a big bag with all of their notes. And the key thing I want to say is that I needed to understand the job of a student, because now I'm a working person. Now I'm going to be a student, and I didn't have children as at that point in time. So I felt, oh, very easy. Let's just go and we'll do right by it. But what I did not realize, or what I did not expect, I was going to get pregnant in that program. So I resigned from my job and went to do the master's. 3 months into the program, I realized I was pregnant. Perfect combination, wouldn't you agree? So now I'm sleeping in class and I'm wondering what's wrong with me, and my attention is now reducing. I was doing very well from the very beginning of the class, and with pregnancy, it took its toll on me. But what I would say to you is that because I did very well when I first started, it allowed me to scale through to the end, because what they did is I had to claim for extenuating circumstances, because I gave birth right in between exams. You heard me right? Yes, I was that girl who gave birth right in between exams. And so I had to, extenuating circumstances, like I said, because I missed classes. And so they had to use my past result. Thank God I did well. And that's what scaled me through it. Didn't get the grade I wanted, but I'm grateful I passed. I didn't fail, which I could have, because, I missed class, like I said, I missed a couple of tests and all of that. But because I did well from the beginning, he saw me through it. So what else did I do? I said, understand the job of a student. I had a career plan for my life. Yes, career plan for my life. I'm looking at my notes here. And yes, lessons learned or what I would do differently. Number one, I will use social media better. So what I mean by social media in this case is LinkedIn. If I had known, I would have gone to LinkedIn to find out about, just like what Dr. Onya has said, and David also said it, find people who have done very well and get their notes. All I did was just get notes. I was just excited to be in school, but I would structure it and be laser focused in terms of what I wanted. And what would I do also better? I would network better. So I would attend lots of professional meetings and gatherings, which I did eventually, but if I was going right now, that is what I would do. And then the third thing I would definitely do without a shadow of doubt, which has been echoed by all our amazing speakers, is get a mentor, get a coach. I am to many right now, but I say I wasn't there. I know I didn't get the opportunity when I came, but I would definitely recommend these three things to you. So in terms of lesson learned, I'm hoping that you've got a bit of what to do, how to do from all of us that have spoken today. Now, the last slide, I said, look ahead with a positive mindset. If you want to go to my next slide, please, which is my last slide. Now I have come from a place of a lot of challenges, a lot of changes in my life, circumstances, life changing right before my very eyes. And I'm trying to navigate my way in terms of how do I do this? How do I, succeed and get the most of life, regardless of what it throws at my face? Because I'm sure you would agree with me, you have a plan for your life. And I hope you do. In case you don't have, now is a reminder, please get a vision for your life. And so despite the fact that I have a map, I wanted to share some recipe for success. Recipe in terms of I work in the food industry, so I had to use the word. I thought it was a play on word for success. So the number one thing I want to say is know yourself personally and professionally. And the reason why that is because when I started working, my CV is 9 pages, let me tell you, first of all. I know everyone says your CV should be 2. No, mine is 9 pages. And it's so rich that every time that I apply for a job, I always get it. And that girl who has gotten a job 7 times in a row, first interview, straight on, and that person with DR knew it. And I'm like a star girl. Every time they call me, I'm like, that's our star girl. That is me. 7 times in a row, first interview, I was the one getting the job. And the only reason I was able to be that person is because I know myself. I took time out to know myself personally and professionally. And when I say that, what do I mean? I'm talking about your values, your ambition, your dreams, your aspiration, your likes and your dislike. I'm hoping that is useful. Now, going to the second point on my slide here, what does success look like to you? So I have what does success look like to you in life, and the second one, the third one in school, and in the third one in work. I would put the 3 of them together. If you don't know what success is like or what you want success to be for you, you're going to look to the left and you're going to look to the right to be looking at what other people are doing, comparing yourself to them to define success for yourself, which is evil in every shape, form, or size, because they are different and you are different. And so you need to live life on your own lane, on your own terms. And to be able to do that, you need to define clearly. You need to be so sure that you can't be moved, that if anything that does not look like it come near, you're like, no, thank you. Very quick to say no, because you know exactly what you want. So what is success like for you? Define that for yourself. In school, in life, in work, what does it look like? What does it feel like? And then you tell yourself, how do I achieve this? You need to sit down. You need to take pen to paper. I always say pen, paper, your best friend. You need to have them. You need to write down. Continually, consistently retweaking them, reviewing them every quarter if you're like me, because things change and life happens. So that is 2, 3, 4, done. Now, number 4. Understand the interview process. David said he's a recruiter, and he said that he looks at some CV and he's like, what exactly are you doing? When you were writing this, what did you think about? Honestly, I made interview look like a walk in the park because of the way I studied and I prepared. OMG, you need to be so good at interviews that you cannot be rejected. You need to come out knowing that I got a job already. Even before the call, you are like, yes, I know I got the job. And the only way that can happen is if you prepare. So how do I personally prepare for an interview? Number 1, once I get an invitation, or should I start from the very beginning? I choose the job I want to apply for. Remember, I said I know myself, so I don't just apply for any job. I'm not desperate. I apply to jobs that suit me professionally and personally. I look at everything about the job. I want to put a caveat now to that. There are some jobs that I look at it and like, I don't have experience in that. I don't have experience in that. But you know what? I say to myself, I can have experience in that. I can learn that. And I will go to my good old friend, Google, if you're like me, or YouTube. And now that we have ChatGPT, what can I say? And say, help me. Or I phone a friend. Or I go for a course program, a free course program, or a paid one if I have to, just to upgrade myself, to put myself on that level that if they ask me any question on that question or on that space or the jargons that they use, you know what I mean? I'll be able to do well in it. So learn the act of preparing for an interview. Your CV must pop. They need to look at your CV and be like, we want her. We want her. You know, yes, that I don't want anyone. That one, that's your CV needs to pop. Highlight your strengths, your weaknesses, your qualifications, what you have achieved for the company. You know, if you've helped them with cost reduction, even if it's your prior company where you've worked before, or even if it's a volunteering role, please, by all means. Now I said volunteering, I remembered something that I did not say. When I came to the UK back and I was at the library and I was learning, I was volunteering. I volunteered in the church and I also volunteered at the charity organization for work experience. So I did that as well. I just realized I didn't mention that. So I did do that as well. So I had a bit of work experience to my name before I eventually got the first work experience in food. So we're talking about understanding the interview process. Make it a duty to understand it. If you're here in the UK, understand what to wear. You know, when you're going for interviews, you cannot wear this long, I love these earrings if I must say so myself, or you cannot go to an interview wearing that. You wear a small one. Thank you. I have my timer here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So you wear a small one. You know, you don't go all glammed up. You're not going for a party. Your makeup needs to be very, very light. Your hair all nicely done to the back. You need to look prim and proper. You know, if you're wearing a suit, a top and a bottom, your CV has done a good job of presenting you to them. Now you need to go there now looking your best. People judge you by your look. They say they don't judge a book by its cover. For an interview, they're judging you, you know. And when you go for an interview, a good firm handshake, smile on your face. Don't sit until you are being told to sit, or you ask them, can I please sit? Interview etiquette. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I love interviews, honestly, because I thrive in it. So understand the interview process. Now moving to who is in your boat, which everyone has echoed, networking. Who is in your corner? Who is your phone a friend? Who can support you? Who can guide you? The reason you need that is because you need shock absorber. For me, it was my mom. Then my husband, because I had a baby when I was in school. My mom did it when I was going for exam. My mom was the one helping me feeding my baby, thinking, and that stress was taken off my face so that I don't have to worry that is my baby okay. If you need to get a childminder, if you need to get a sub, if you need to bring your parents from home or your friend, you need to pay for it sometimes. Please do what you need to do to get to where you need to get to. So do all you need to do. So that's what who is in your boat is all about. You need a good support system. You remember I said get a mentor as well or a coach? Do that. You know, I have people reach out to me on LinkedIn saying, oh, can you please help me with this? And I've done it now. In fact, I've lost count. I've stopped counting, you know, preparing them for interview questions, you know, what the job is all about. And in fact, I still had someone 2 weeks ago still call me saying to me, you know, I want to go into interim. I want to go into interim like you now. What do I do? So make sure that you know who is in your boat. Now, skills for life. I wrote it down. Yes, skills for life. So let's quickly run through skills for life that I believe personally will be very helpful for you when you are in school and out of school. Communication, verbal, written, amazing. You need to know how to write a letter. You need to write a report. You know how to speak to people. Anybody, the CEO or just the cleaner at the door or the gate man opening the door, security like we like to call them, opening the door for you. Leadership skills, problem solving. Oh my gosh, you need to be that person that if they have a problem, let's call talks. That's what you need to be. Decision making, hard work, attention to detail. Oh my gosh, attention to detail has made my life so there because I see things. Yes, I do. Teamwork. You need to be an amazing, caring team player. Computer literacy. Know your computer, guys, your Word, your Excel, Visio, all the apps applicable for the job that you're going for. Collaboration. Again, it's all about teamwork, but you need to know that you need to work with people. And then I've written here organization skills. And it's not limited, but I thought I needed to highlight those ones to you. Now, moving on quickly. That's my own timer here. Give value in anything and in everywhere you're doing. Give value. You may say, what is value? Value is all about making sure that whoever you meet or wherever you meet them, they are better than the way you leave them better. You leave them better. They need to have a smile on their face. They need to be lifted up in their spirit. You need to have done a job, a service to them. So give value every time. Be memorable. Be memorable. Oh my gosh. They need to be able to remember you, to be able to, present you in high places. And the only way that can happen is if you are memorable. And you can be memorable by your smile, your look, the work that you do, the way you speak, the emails you send. Then let there be something about you that they remember you by. Be memorable and smile always. Smile, it works a treat. Personal development. Have a plan for personal development and professional development as well. Without that, you are just going to be where you are, and people are going to come and go over and over you, and you're still here. So you need to have a plan for personal development. And the last thing here is reward yourself. Everyone forgets that. You've gotten a job. Please treat yourself. Go to that nice restaurant, buy that nice dress, and take care of yourself. So in summary now, I don't know if my 5 minutes is up, but in summary, I want to say that the recipe for success is knowing yourself, being the best version of yourself, improving yourself, giving value more than ever, because you will be remembered for what you do, and always smile. It's a wrap. Thank you, everyone.
Oh my goodness, what a powerful, powerful, powerful run through. Thank you so much for that. Please help me first and foremost show our panelists some love, some appreciation in the chat. Please, a huge thank you to Talks, a huge thank you to David, a huge thank you to Dr. Onya for impacting us this morning / afternoon now, with their words of wisdom, with their knowledge, their passion. I don't know about you, but I felt the passion. I could hear, everybody's excitement. So please help us say thank you and show them some love and appreciation. For those of you that are taking notes in terms of key highlights, Dr. Onya spoke about learning from the experiences of others, knowing your why, why are you on this course? Why are you in this location? Having a goal. There's power in relationships, connect and nurture those relationships outside of, what is your natural modus operandi. Everybody knows the part of the world that I'm from at work, and they know that sometimes I burst into spontaneous outbursts of my natural language. So, be diverse, enter new groups, engage with people, and think about, different novel ways of doing things. So huge thank you to Dr. Onya for that. David spoke a lot about mentorship and sponsorship, adding value to yourself, but obviously using the strengths and the knowledge of others, the things that people that have gone ahead of us have learned. It's always powerful to use those in terms of how we then go on to achieve all that we need to achieve. Setting goals, identifying your strengths, being visible. I think that's another thing that he spoke about at length this morning. Using LinkedIn, having a professional network, having people that, if you're looking for a job, they can voice in and say, yes, I know this person, here's a volunteering opportunity, or here's something, using your network, seeking opportunities whilst you study. It's not just, I'll start looking for a job when I finish. It's looking from where you are. He spoke about how, he got his CIPD qualification whilst he was still studying, so looking for opportunities whilst you're still studying is important. And also thinking beyond the point of study. What is this course going to give me? What is the growth that I'm going to get out of this? And he spoke about knowing how to complete a good application, and being mindful of the people in your network, in your space. And then finally, there we heard from Talks, who spoke at length about using the available resources. The library is your best friend. Free courses. When she was talking about that, Coursera flashed through my mind. So that's another tool that you can use. They have loads and loads of training that you can do on there that are professionally recognized courses that you can also put on your CV. It's COURSERA. Building your CV, narrowing your search. I think Talks said there about how, specificity is important. So she was clear in her mind in terms of wanting to go down the food technology line. And so she did everything very focused on that line. So being clear and being focused also allows you to be direct in terms of where you pour your energy, whether that's in terms of studies, whether that's in terms of job hunting. And then she also spoke at length about getting a mentor or a coach. I can't emphasize the power of having a mentor or a coach myself. Adding value to yourself, building value to progress. That was a statement that really resonated with me, actually. Building value to progress. So you're building your own personal value. She spoke up there about how she jumped from a particular pay bracket just by the personal things that she was able to do. This is not even about promotion at work or anything like that. Just the personal things that you're able to do. If there's a role you're aiming for, look at what the salary band for that role is. Look at what the requirements for that role is, and start to think about strategically, what are the training courses? Who are the people that are doing that role today that I can connect with, that I can network with, that can, help me to grow? I can learn from their mistakes as well. They can tell me, don't do it that way, do it this way. So it's not just about, I'm looking for a job. There's so much more that you can do to really, really build yourself in that process. And then she talked about doing your research, knowing yourself personally. Like, you're selling a brand, you're selling yourself to people. And if you don't know what you're selling, I don't know what people will come to buy. So you have to really know what you're bringing, what you're bringing to the market, what you're selling to people over and above, I have a master's in major program management or whatever it is. What is it about you that connects with that organization, that connects with that manager? And you need to know that to approach that from a place of power. And then she talked about having a career plan for your life. I thought that was so poignant. So it's over and above the course of study. You need to have a plan, a career plan for your life. When I finish this course, if 20 children happen in the space of time that I finish this course, what is the plan? What is my strategy? And you need to have a strategic view. Just have all of these thoughts and ideas in a basket so that when life happens, you at least have something to bounce off of. And then finally, she spoke about using LinkedIn, being visible. I can't overemphasize the power of being visible. I've got, at least in the course of my career, I've probably got maybe 2, potentially more, quite senior roles from LinkedIn. Like, people just approach me and be like, I have this role, are you interested? And if I look at it and I think, oh yeah, something I want to do, I'll say, okay, let's have the discussion. So it's important to be part of that professional network. It's important to make sure that you're visible on LinkedIn. Something interesting, a book you read, a topic, something is worth, putting a post. You never know who reads your post or who will connect with you and how that will become a job. And also just for the people that are studying, it's also important LinkedIn is also a good tool to use, actually, in terms of looking at alumni. So I had someone reach out to me a week or so ago who's looking to do a course similar to what I did at Oxford. And she said, I'm really sorry to reach out to you randomly on LinkedIn, but I saw that you've done this course and you've gone on to be in these roles. I'm looking to apply. Are there any tips and hints that you could give me? So again, that's another powerful way you can really use LinkedIn. Find people that are, that are alumni of the university that you're in, or another university that offers a similar course to what you're doing. The worst people can say to you on LinkedIn is, I'm too busy, I can't help you, or they just ignore you and don't answer you. Then you know not to disturb those people. But generally, people will say, oh, what questions do you have? How can I help? What are the things that are really bothering you, and how can I be of assistance to you? I just want to say a huge thank you to all of our participants and everybody on the session today. You've actually all stayed. So thank you for absorbing the value. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Just for people to go and do whatever you need to do, go to the ladies, have a cup of tea, whatever it is. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to bring the 3 panelists back together, and then we'll do a bit of a short panel session, and I'll ask them a few questions, and obviously we'll try and get a bit more knowledge, experience out of our panelists. And then after the panel session, we'll open it up to Q&A, so everybody online today can ask as many questions as possible. So on that note, we will resume at 10 minutes to 1. So if everybody can be back here. Sorry, did I say 10 minutes to 1? No, 2 minutes to 1. So if everybody can be back here at just before 1, that would be brilliant. Thank you. We'll be back at 12:58. That's 10 minutes from now.
The melody.
You surround me with a song
of deliverance from my enemy,
till my fears are gone.
I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God.
From my mother's womb, you've chosen me. Oh, love has called my name. I've been born again into your family. Your blood flows through my veins.
I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear.
But in love,
I am a child of God.
I am a child.
A slave to fear. I am a child of God.
I am surrounded by the arms of the Father.
I am surrounded by songs of deliverance.
We've been liberated from our bondage.
We are sons and the daughters. Let us sing our freedom.
Oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Like the dew from the heavens, the rain from the sky, let your mercy pour out on me.
I surrender my cares and I cease from the struggles. Your rest and peace I embrace. Your rest and peace I embrace.
I receive all that grace has brought. I believe on Christ's finished work. Yeah. I enter a lifetime of ease as I trust Him to take care of me. I receive all that grace has brought. I believe on Christ's finished work. I enter a lifetime of ease as I trust Him to take care of me. Like the dew from the heaven, the rain from the sky, let your mercy pour out on me. I surrender my cares and I cease from the struggles. Your rest and peace I embrace. Your rest and peace I embrace.
I receive all that grace has brought. I believe on Christ's finished works. Yeah. I enter a lifetime of ease as I trust you to take care of me.
I receive all that grace has brought. I believe on Christ's finished work. I enter a lifetime of ease as I trust Him to take care of me.
You carry all my burdens, God. You cover all my fears. I enter as I trust Him to take care of me. Say,
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'll just take maybe another 30 seconds to get everyone back. Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, I think we're good to go. I think. Right. Okay, so let me just admin, can you please help me spotlight the panelists? And then we'll get the panel session going. Let's do that. Okay, awesome. Good to see everybody. Let's get going. So we're going to start the panel session now. I'll be asking our panelists a few questions, and hopefully from that, everybody on the call today will get a bit more value in terms of your experience. So the first question is, there is a popular saying that the proof of possibility is in what you believe. And you're welcome to come at this from a educational perspective, a spiritual perspective, a self-belief perspective. But the question is, how has the power of your self-belief helped you in your academia, in your career? How has self-belief proven poignant in terms of your career journey? David, if it's okay if I can come to you first.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Thanks, Daryl. Power of self-belief. Mine is spiritual. I do not reference any of my personal achievements. I would reference all that I believe that I've achieved to what God has given. And I'll tell you one thing, from the day I started my BA to now, all I can say is, all I can see, and the things I've achieved has happened by the grace of God. And his mercy has really kept me going. And sometimes when I look back, I can't really explain some of the things I've achieved. Be it from my uni days, my grades, the grades I got. When I look at it, I'll be like, wow, me getting A's and A plus. And I wonder, because I was so busy. I was so busy during my uni days. I was working, and at the same time I was studying. And when I look at my grades and how I got those results I got, I can't explain it. I can't really explain it. And that take me into my career. Again, don't get me wrong, there are some times that was really challenging, but later I kind of understood why it was challenging, because why I needed to stay there and learn. And I'll give you an example. When I was at London Ambulance, and that's the place I've stayed the longest. I was there for over 3 years. Usually I do 2 years, and I'd be like, I've learned what I've learned. I need to go. But at this particular role, I was there, and I think the reason why I stood there was the Lord was going to open something big for me. Now I'm not beginning to understand why. At that time, I didn't really get the clearer picture, and I was there. It was challenging. It was tough, but it was for a purpose. So again, as I said to you, I can't really explain, but God has really helped me. And I say this now, that there's something God is doing in my life at the current, and I hope it's going to bless someone. And that is, I am made in his image. When in the book of Genesis, the Bible says, let's make man in our image. So the way God thinks, the belief system that God has, he has deposited in me. So I believe that I can do all that God wants me to do, because the power to do it, the grace to do it, the authority to do it, he has given me. So I'll just pass it.
Thank you so much for that, David. That's so powerful. Talks, can I come to you, please? What impact has self-belief played in your personal story, your journey, your career?
Okay, so self-belief has allowed me to soar. It's allowed me to fly. I right now, nothing is impossible with me. You know, I look to the left and the right, and sometimes I pinch myself if this is my life. And obviously, like David said, I have my anchor in God. So in everything I'm doing, he's kind of like in the center and out. But without God, I couldn't have gotten this far. But in terms of where I am right now, how my belief in God and in what I am doing right now, number one, my confidence is at the top. If you tell me, Tokes, come and build a house, I'm like, yes, let's do it. I ain't got a clue. I'm not an architect. I'm like, yes, let's do it. Let's go for it. And then I'm going to go and figure out how to learn how to do it. And if I don't want to do that, give it out to someone else to do it. I've become so smart in my thinking, in my ways of opportunities right now. I'm like, let's do it. Let's do it. So if someone says, oh, Tokes, you're doing this again. I'm like, yes, because nothing is impossible. So when you ask me how I'm a film producer, because nothing is impossible. How I've written books. Can I tell you right now, I'm writing 5 books. Yes, I'm that crazy person. Yes, I am. So nothing is impossible is basically what I'm saying. My communication is top notch. I have learned because I'm confident in myself. I know myself. Like I told you, if you know yourself, there's some, I'm just, you know, someone said to me, the camera loves you. Said I love the camera too. It's mutual. So better communication, higher productivity, solution oriented. And I wrote here because I like writing notes. By now everyone knows. I'll show you my board now.
Wow.
That is my life. I can't, that's how I function, that's how I operate. I had to write it down because I wanted to say things that I know I could go on. But the last one I wrote is open to feedback. Now I am so open to feedback. There is no right or wrong for me right now. If you say, oh, Tokes, you were too loud. I'm like, oh, thank you for letting me know. And my voice begins to come down. I can't be calm. I can't be very quiet, but that is not my natural self. I have learned to adapt is what I'm saying. So I'm very open to feedback. So that's what I would say. Thank you.
Wow, that is so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing. Dr. Onya?
Thank you, Tayo. Can I just say, I love Sister Womi's energy. Like, even when you're down, she brings you up. So thank you so much. For me, I'm going to take the academic route if I'm allowed. I think I can because I'm the academic here. I love Rosebud Cantor's definition of confidence. Well, if you think about self-belief or self-efficacy or confidence, she says it's the expectation of success. It is a belief that you're able to accomplish something or succeed in something. So once I expect, regardless of whether or not it's new, when I expect that I will succeed, I go for it. And I just want to just tap into what David and Sister Wumi, they said it actually. To be honest, I don't actually look at it as self-belief. I look at it, and I'm sorry, I don't want to spiritualize this, but God belief, because when I think of him, when I think of a step I'm about to take, I tell myself, what's the worst that will happen? He'll catch me. This is it, you know, and he'll help me get back up again. So even when I'm afraid, I'm not saying I'm not afraid of this new thing, because new things, uncertainty, fear, I still go for it because somehow I believe that I will succeed. And that helps me a lot, that belief. But to be honest, people tend to give answers that, oh, this is the one thing. It's never really just the one thing. There are multiple things that help you to succeed. I also speak to a lot of people that have done perhaps the thing, even if it's just close to what I'm trying to do. Getting wisdom from people that have walked ahead of you, it helps.
Thank you so much for sharing, everyone. That's really powerful. Thank you. So moving on then, I'm going to go on to the next question. And again, I'm going to use a quote. One of the things I do personally for me in my all that has really helped me in my career journey is I tend to follow a lot of people that are probably 2, 3, 4 steps to where I want to be in my career right now. So for example, if I'm aiming to be, I don't know, let me say I'm an executive director, but I'm already there. If that was the aim, I would be following people who are maybe, you know, at CEO level, or maybe 2 or 3 levels, or COO or CPO, ahead of where I want to be at the moment. So I tend to always listen for anecdotes. I've picked up a few already this morning from all of our panelists. And I use those anecdotes in my own personal journaling, like Took said there, or making notes, because that's another thing that I do a lot of as well. I have sticky notes all around. If I turn my screen, I'm surrounded by sticky notes. So using that anecdote, then the question I wanted to ask was the proof of self-belief. We've talked a lot just now about, that self-belief from a spiritual place, from a place of knowing God, but also from an academic perspective as well, Dr. Onya shared there. The proof of self-belief is in your corresponding action. So, firstly, a huge thank you to everybody who's joined us this morning, because they've actually taken a step to want to learn, to want to listen, to want to gain knowledge. But I want to hear from all of our panelists, what are the corresponding actions that you want people to take away from the session today? So there's a nugget, there's an idea, there's something that really helped you. What is that corresponding action? What is that expectation that you have for everybody that's listening today, and also the people that will watch this video back as well on our YouTube channel? I will come to Dr. Onya first, please. Or should I go to Talks?
No, it's fine.
Oh,
I'll
awesome.
answer the question. So the question is, what are the corresponding actions? And I think for me, there are two practical things that I think people can take away now. That I'm very pragmatic and action oriented. This is the type of person I am. So two things you can literally do now, and I'm pulling from all that everyone has said. And I think Taiwo just touched on one of them, which is one, have a target, like a goal. You can set that right, literally as we're talking, you can write it down. Where are you going? If you don't know where you're going, then how will you know when you've arrived? How will you know? So set a goal, and this you can break up into, and Sister Wumi alluded to this or talked about this, you can break up into spiritual, career or business goal, whatever it is. And now then linking it to what Taiwo said, I follow people that are 5 steps ahead. And what happens when you do that is you start to get a sense of how they think, because how you think shapes how you be, who you are really, because as a man thinketh, so is he. You start to see how they think, and the way they think will start to influence you. You won't even know that you're picking up on it, because think of a child, or think of yourself. Do you notice that you now act like your mother or your father? Did they sit you down and say, behave like me? No, it was mirroring, you observed. But as Taiwo is seeing these CEOs and executives, she's observing this sort of learning is happening through observation, and she's picking up on it. It's changing her thinking. Actually, iron sharpeneth iron. That's my favorite quote. So write your goal down and find people that are already doing what you want to achieve. Start to follow them, buy their books, tap into the way they think, attend any seminar there. If there's a seminar, unless I'm going to go there all the way. I've never been there, I'll go. So that for me is one thing. You can do that right now. Thank you.
That is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Onya. Talks?
So this is what I want you to do today. Take action. Take action. That's what I want you to do. I want you to implement. We've put this beautiful conference, this seminar, webinar, whichever English word you want to use to describe it. I really have no problem with it, but it's here and it's not going anywhere. What I want you to do right now, yes, you watching me, is to take action and implement. Being a hearer does not get you so much result than you doing it as well. So you've heard, so let's implement, let's do. So I'll give you a few examples of things I would like you to do. Take action on. Number 1, get a coach, get a mentor. Get a coach, get a mentor. Your journey will be half. Trust me, if I got a coach, I keep saying it to my husband, I'm not regretting, but I said, if I had a coach when I came to the UK, where my life would have been. So trust me, everyone is saying it, we are not making it up, it's fact. Because a coach has gone 10 years learning this. You get it in 1 year. That's the power of a coach. Number 2, create a career plan. This is a career platform we are trying to explain or share away what we have learned from our personal journey, which is different for everyone. So you need to define yours now. So create a career plan for yourself. Another thing I'd like you to do is have a plan for personal development. I promise you, if you don't have that, you are going to be stuck. Right now, we are in ChatGPT. If you are still talking about typewriter, you're talking about even mobile phone. If you're talking of Nokia, I bought an old Nokia phone and I showed my son. He said, what is this? I said, exactly. I said, that is what I was using when, that is how far back, we've gone. So please get a plan. That's what I'm saying. I could go on. Open a LinkedIn account today. Open a LinkedIn account today. Things you can do today. Open a LinkedIn. And the last one I said is research volunteering opportunities. If you're looking to progress, you cannot run away from it. Number one, you will develop your self-esteem. Your confidence will be high. When you go for interviews, you will know what to do, how to say, the jargon, the language, how to present yourself. There is this confidence that comes that I have done this job before, so I can do that one. So please, those are 5 examples. I'm hoping you can take action today, as in right now, right here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. That's so powerful. And David?
Yeah, thank you. Powerful one. I've categorized mine 3. So if you haven't got a purpose, like Dr. Onya said, get a purpose. Get that will. Set your goal. Know what you're doing. Know why you're here. And know what you want to achieve. Once you've done that, you want to then begin to add value to yourself. And then I know talks did alluded on that. It's important that you begin to do your research based on our conversation today. Go on the internet, begin to search up information based on your purpose, based on the things that you want to achieve, based on the things and the goal or where you see yourself next year, in the next 2 years. And like we said, get mentors. And again, these are the approach I would advise that you adopt to begin to add value to yourself. Read up on information, attend seminars. And then lastly, movement. Don't stop. Take action. Be bold, be courageous. I'll tell you one thing, there's some roles that when you hear, you're like, Jesus, how am I going to do this role? But I'll tell you one thing, when you start it, you do it. I was listening to a director, a CEO, and then she was saying that people are afraid to step into those big shoes. And then she said, listen, that when she was going to step into a position as a CEO, she had no clue of what she was going to do. She had no clue. She was afraid of the position that she's going to step into. So what does that tell us? It tells us that, listen, you're not going to ride and get into this journey by yourself. That's when you need to apply your faith, apply your belief, apply your identity. That this journey is not going to be you, but it's that person that's going to help you and give you ideas and give you strategy to do well in that role. So movement is faith. Movement is you being courageous and you being trusting that you can achieve all these things that you want to achieve. So I'll leave it there.
That is so powerful. Thank you so much, David. I was just going to talk about, the professional network. I think Sister Omi mentioned it already about getting on LinkedIn in terms of what positive thing to do today. I can actually, let me recap just what our 3 panelists have said. So for those that are taking notes, have a target, write it down, be clear in terms of your goals, know where you're going and when to make a move. Be strategic in terms of how you maneuver. Identify the positive influences, the positive things, the positive people, the positive materials that can influence your career, that can influence your life, and then take action with those tools, implement them, take the next step from hearing. Don't just attend this seminar today, hear all of this wonderful information from our panelists, and then just go back to bread and butter tomorrow. Do something, commit, make a conscious effort for yourself to commit to doing something different on the back of attending the session today. Get a coach, get a mentor, and some of these resources are free. It's not, because sometimes we get boxed in by the fact that, oh, I have to pay. You know, there are coaches that have just received their license yesterday. They're not going to go out on the street to find people to coach. They will put it on a professional networking site like LinkedIn to say, I've just received my coaching license. I will give you a coaching session for 50, 80% cheaper than what you would normally get it. Now, what that might allow you to do, someone who's new to coaching, is to actually experience what it feels like to have a coach. And then it helps you know what you don't want. So that the next time you actually want to then spend serious money to get a coach, you know exactly what you don't want. And then you can sort of use that to find. So there is gold that can be found even in the darkest of places. And Talk spoke there about creating a career plan, having a personal development plan. I think we spoke about this as well in the main session. You know, it's not just, oh, career. Career happens, but life also happens around your career. And it's having a plan that supports your career growth as well. And then finally, David spoke there about finding your purpose, setting goals, adding value to yourself, attending seminars. I think it was Talks that said the point about research, volunteering opportunities, and then move, be bold, you know, don't just stay stagnant. Because I think sometimes the other thing, the predominant population of people we're speaking to today are people that have moved from location A, you know, and moved to location B. You know, is it Abraham in the Bible that God said, leave your family and, you know, go and establish yourself somewhere else? And you're in this land, you don't understand half the time what they're saying. You know, I had someone say to me the other day, like, slow down, I cannot hear a word of what you're saying. And then I went in slow pace. So, you know, you have to bring yourself into this environment, bring yourself into this space, find people that have gone ahead of you and spent 20 years. They understand the market. They understand how to negotiate deals. They understand how to, you know, if that's where you want to go, find those people, and they do exist. The first point is asking. That's the move part. That's the doing something. A huge thank you to our panelists for sharing that. We'll put one more question to our panelists, and then we'll move on to the open section. So everybody on the seminar today, you can put your questions in the chat. I believe if you're watching live on YouTube, you can also put your questions in the comment section, and we'll try and pick all of them up as we go along. So just a final question for our panelists today then. Again, another anecdote, this is just me. People don't forget the extraordinary. And I think Talks mentioned this earlier about, you know, that self-awareness and a bit of our branding. People don't forget the extraordinary, but they never remember the ordinary. So if you turn up at an interview or you're just there, you're not memorable, people will not remember that you made an impact on them. So the question is, for each of our panelists, how do you maintain relevance in your field? How do you bring the totality, the whole of yourself into career, into study, in whatever way, shape or manner or form? That question really resonates with you. For me, on a personal level, very quickly, I think maintaining relevance is part of some of the things that we've already spoken about. So technology moves really fast. I work in the sort of programs and project space. And obviously there are certain things that we use that just become obsolete very quickly. So I ask questions. There's a new tool that I was just talking to someone at work about just this week. Someone mentioned it in passing and my ears just perked up. I was like, what? And immediately I went to quickly Google it. I was like, okay, what is this tool? How do you get trained on it? How long does it take? You know, what can you do? Because I'm always about constantly evolving. You know, people say to me, like, you get involved in so many things, you know, too many things. My brain cannot support, I cannot do a monotonous job. I cannot be that person sitting there just crunching numbers day by day. I want to do something different every hour if I can get away with it. So I think that's one thing that I would say that has helped me maintain relevance in my field is having an area. I have an area of interest, everybody does, but finding the things that there are synergies between your area of interest and those things. For me, technology is one of them. There are synergies between my area of interest and technology, and I always find new tools and ways of evolving from a career and a personal perspective as well in that space. David, let me come to you first. How do you stay relevant in your field? Or how do you maintain relevance?
Right. Yeah. So we've mentioned some of it, but I would kind of find a different route to kind of explain it. So for me, once I've learned the things I need to learn in my role, and I know it's time for me to step into a new role, and I get that role, I would want to know what is it that we want to achieve as an organization and as a team. So once I understand the objective, I will start thinking and start dwelling on them. Do I need to go for that training? Do I need to pick up more knowledge to be able to be exceptional, to be able to deliver on these projects? And I'll give you an example. I started a new role in November, and my first day, I said to my manager, I said, "What are our objective?" And then we went through it in details, and I started thinking, what is it do I need to do to make sure that I'm able to achieve, not just achieve, overachieve within. So, well, we have a 6-month target, but I want to achieve this within a 3-month space. So I called my team, we had a meeting, I told them what the objectives are, and I told them what my targets are. I said, this is the team's and the director's target, but my target is that we change and turn things around within a space of 3 months. So I knew that they would need training. So I started working. So it requires you to think, it requires you to work extraordinary. It requires to put something different. You need to do something different that they've never done before. You're bringing change by you constantly thinking about the role, thinking inward, have a deep think of what are the things you need to put in place to be able to make yourself exceptional, and not just yourself, but your team. So I set up a training session, ran this training session with them, and within a 3 pace, we started seeing the results. We got the CEO coming into our office saying that, guys, you've been exceptional. And that is what makes me, and I could go on and on about, mentorship, about attending new sessions, training myself, attending seminars. I can go on and on and on and on about that. But the major aspect of me being relevant is understanding where I'm going as a team and the things that we need to achieve. And it's not having a think, the word is not coming out. A deep think of how is the how, which require changes, requires new ideas, requires new strategy, and then implementation. And the result is exception. Result is great. Result is accolades. And that's what has really helped me to be exceptional within my team and to remain consistent. Consistent is key.
Thank you so much, David. Dr. Onya?
Thank you, David. So for me, the 2 things that really that help me to sort of maintain relevance where I am, and one is advice that I got from my brother, and he said to me, every time he goes into a company, he's thinking, how can I make their processes better? How can I improve what they already do? This is his mindset. And then the second thing, so that I have always at the back of my head, and Pastor Emi is like that as well. How can we do better? How can we be more? How can we be excellent? How can we push this forward and not remain in the level we are right now? So that's one thing. And then the second thing is, I have at the back of my mind that I am where I am to serve my students. So that's a different perspective of looking at my job. My job then is, how can I serve these students and ensure that they succeed? How can I serve my colleagues? How can I serve my director? And when I have that at the back of my mind, this means that I'm constantly, so combining those 2 things, I'm constantly thinking of innovating, of what new thing can we do in this place, in our department, that will help the students. This is what I'm thinking about. And so I experiment, and I'm grateful to God that I have a line manager that allows me to try new things. So for me, staying relevant then is innovating, but I'm not just randomly innovating. I'm innovating towards a particular goal, and my goal is to serve the students and my colleagues, right? So my job is to make sure that when they come into our program, they leave and they're not the same. They've been transformed. They're not walking out with nothing because all they've done is just studied to pass. No, they have literally been transformed by what we do, by the experience that they've had. And this is what drives me. So for a quick example, when I was thinking of how can I make the program better? As program lead, actually my line manager had asked me this question, what do you want to do with the program? And I thought about, okay, what can I do? What can help the students? Again, going back to the motivation or the why behind what you do. And I thought about, okay, I'm going to introduce a placement program. And it's going to be a different type of placement. It'll be challenge focused. This will give the students experience. So remember all that the other speakers have been talking about. This will give them experience even before they finish the program. That's already covered. That UK experience that we're all dying, that everybody's trying to get. 1, 2, this will allow them to apply the theories that we've taught them in class, literally alongside the program. 3, they'll get a deeper understanding of a challenge. I can't cover, my classes are 2 hours long. I cannot do everything in those 2 hours. But in that learning, in that organization, they get the real life experience of the complexity of the challenge that we've been discussing in class. So it was a lot of work putting that program together, but it was scary, it was challenging, it was new. But at the end of the day, we did it. And why did I do it? Because I wanted to serve those students. So experiment, in a nutshell, just the short answer to your question, Taiwo, is I like to experiment and innovate and try new things. And I'm so glad that I have a line manager that allows me to do that kind of thing where I am.
Thank you so much. And talks?
Yeah, so very beautiful feedback from everyone. I'll just add to it by saying, number 1, tools for your organization. So what tools are coming out right now for the organization? Make sure that you are on point on it. And the reason I say that is I'm that kind of person. When I go into a role, I will use a very good example. When I started my career, when I progressed and I became a QA, that's quality auditor. When I say QA, quality auditor, I knew that's not the bus stop. I knew that was just a stop on my journey to where I'm going. And so what I did was my team manager, the way the structure where I was QA, then QA team manager, and then she had technical manager. So I knew I was looking at the technical manager as where I'm going to, just like everyone has shared 2 steps ahead, so you know where you're going. So what I did is I went to my QA team manager and said, how can I help you? So what do you need help with? What are you doing? And so she said to me, oh, I'm doing this. Can you do it? I'm like, yes. I ain't got a clue. But what I did in that process is I went to read the manuals. Every company have like a procedures, SOPs that they have. So I went there, read through it, and I tried to figure it out on my own. And then when I did it halfway, I was like, can you please look through what I've done and tell me, you know, that's the wisdom I used for her to now show me exactly what to do. And then going forward, I began to do it for her. And then when I finished that, I said, is there anything else I can do? And she was like, oh, how about complaints? Would you like to respond to complaints? I'm like, yes. Is it not replying to customer complaints? I was like, yeah, okay. But you have to log into there. I'm like, yes, I can do that. I ain't got a clue. And I went to meet someone else who I know was doing it. I said, how do you log in? And she was like, this is where the password is. And basically, this is what I'm saying. Tools for the organization. Be very relevant. Be that person they want to have in their corner. Like, go and meet Stokes is going to do it. But I was very proactive that I went. I did not wait for opportunity. I went seeking for it and I grabbed it. So number 2, attend events. So trade shows, events that are happening relating to your field. So for food now, for example, I attend a lot of food events because I want to know what is going on. When people are talking, oh, the new vegan thing is up now, I want to join the conversation. I want to be like, oh, yes, that's true. Even if I ain't got a clue, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's true. And I'm nodding my head. I'm thinking, let's go and quickly Google now. See, what did I miss out? So be very smart is what I'm saying. Number 3, keep up with the latest industry news, which is similar to what I've just shared. Understand your client, which is your organization. Understand them. Understand the way they work. Understand their process. Every organization has a rhythm. They have a way they work. So don't use what you've been doing before to now use. So when you get into a new place, understand the rhythm of how they work. Do they do A, B, C, or do they do Z and then they come to A? Every company is dynamic in the way they work. So understand that. Then number 4, I said, stay social. I'm that one person that ran away from social. I've repented. So when they're going, I'm like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do. Every time I go there, I said, what's the point? And that's what I said to myself. What's the point? What's the point? So anytime they're going out, they don't invite me anymore. And then someone said to me, you cannot do that. You're not helping yourself. So attend and get water, get J2O, get a Coke and put ice in there and, hold your glass and, join. You need to stay social. So stay social. And the last thing I have here is focus on great communication. So improve how you speak, how you come across, improve that. So that's what I would say to stay relevant. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Talks. Thank you. That is so poignant. Okay. Huge thank you to all of our panelists this morning, Dr. Onya, David, and Talks, for sharing your insights, your thoughts and your career experiences. So we're going to open it out now to everybody online, joining live. Please send in your questions, any questions you have for our panelists. Now is the time that we can take questions. And I know that there's been a few questions in the chat already. So I'm just going to call your attention to the chat as well, that some of your questions have already been answered. So Francis, Abosede, your questions have been answered in the chat. So Jacob has a question and he says, what are the options to explore in seeking out volunteering opportunities relevant to a particular industry? So, for example, if we take food technology Talks, what are some of the ways that people can actually find volunteering opportunities? Or if it's something to do with the NHS, for example, David, how can people actually seek out volunteering opportunities? So maybe Talks, I'll come to you first.
Okay, thank you. So number one thing is use your LinkedIn. I'll go back to that. That is a very good place to start. There's also another website, charityjobs.co.uk. I hope I'm saying it right. But if I go to LinkedIn, those are the two things I will say. So look for a website, and I've given one, charityjobs.co.uk, and then narrow it down to see if there is a section there for food in terms of what you're looking for. And even if you don't find, if it's a food industry, I'll say jump on it. Just start. Start. You just need it on your CV to say you worked in food. It doesn't matter if you're working in the kitchen. It doesn't matter you are working in food. Put it there. Start from where you are. Now, let me talk about LinkedIn and why I said it's a lesson learned for me. I got lots of emails from people saying, oh, I see you are this and that. How do they do the job? What can I do? What qualifications? To me, it was weird because I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I could do that. So when I say I get a lot of that and I'm coaching people and I'm taking through, this is the software, I'm like, I wish if I had this. So this is where I'm going. Create a LinkedIn profile and then write food technology and see what comes up in your search and see people who are doing exactly what you want to do. And like Taiwo has said, have a conversation with them, build a relationship with them and tell them who you are and what you are. And hopefully that will steer you up in the right direction in terms of getting a work experience. So for me now, for example, I've had people say to me, oh, Talks, my son is about to finish school. We need work experience. Because I'm a manager, I'm like, just come. I just take you in. I just need to tell my boss, oh, I'm getting someone to work for free. And they're like, oh, yes, thank you. So everybody likes for free. So I just take you in. It's not a big deal for me. Now, I'm not saying every company does that, but because of relationship of the person, I'm like, oh yeah, just tell him to send the CV. I'll tell you the process and I'll take him in. So yes, build your relationship with people and they will spread it out. And again, when you're on LinkedIn, just write down there, I am looking for voluntary work experience. Say it.
Absolutely.
Say it. I'm looking for voluntary work experience. Say that I have no experience. I want to build. I would like to work in food quality. Know exactly what you want so that when you are listing it out, people can say, oh yeah, I have a space there. Free, people will jump at it and you are gaining at the end. It's a win-win for both of us.
Absolutely. And then it's also important. I think there's a whole culture on how to use LinkedIn anyway. And there are free materials on YouTube on how to do all of this. But one of the things I wanted to say to that was that, if you put the post up, make sure you tag people for reach as well, because when those people read it, then it opens up to their networks as well. And before you know it, that communication can go to a wider network of people than what you imagine. David, thank you for sharing that link on the NHS volunteering site. Is there anything you want to say that's specific to the NHS though in terms of volunteering?
Thanks, Tayo. So what I'll say is first, I think with the labor market at the moment, there are many jobs out there. We've got 1.1 position that are currently vacant in the UK. And what does that tell us? It tells us that people are looking to hire you even without you having the experience. However, it would also be nice to know what your background, are. What experience do you have? Do you not have any experience at all? Are you studying? Because I don't want you to focus mainly on volunteering when, options are 1.2 million vacancies are out there, and they're looking to, recruit and then support you and then train you. So, but if your option is just mainly volunteering, I would suggest go on to Google. I'll send a link on there for NHS, with NHS volunteering jobs website. But go on to Google and start registering for any volunteering organization that comes up. So you register on the job boards, and what you basically do is you register your interests, you register the kind of role that you want, and if any volunteering position comes up, or any role that can match your desire or the kind of role you want to do, you will get an automated email sent across to you. So, like we said, move, register as much as you can, and all this information will start flowing and get sent to your personal email.
Absolutely, that's so powerful. And I think one other thing that I wanted to add to what you shared there, David, is that sometimes we tend to look at some of these volunteering opportunities from a minimalistic view. But depending on the sector, you could find a volunteering role that could do something, for example, like your DBS check. They'll do all of that for free. So the fact that they're not paying you doesn't necessarily mean that you can't get value from that opportunity. That DBS check that they've done for free, you could just take that to the next paid employment and they don't have to do a DBS check. And sometimes some of these roles, they require someone who's got that DBS check here and now. So you saved yourself the time of going through the application process for that DBS check, and you've already got the DBS check. So you might look at it like it's a volunteering job, they don't pay me, but there are so many other ways that that position could potentially also be beneficial. Okay, so that's powerful. Thank you, everyone. And I think we've answered the second question around finding a relevant volunteering to your profession. I think Took said there, LinkedIn, use your network, post on LinkedIn. I think it's a fantastic tool. There's just a tremendous amount of reach in terms of using that as a tool to get to a wider network of people. There's a question here. Does your UK experience have to be relevant to the field? I guess I'm reading this question the way I understand it. Does your UK experience have to be relevant to your field? So I guess if you're a medical doctor, I don't think you can put an experience in McDonald's on your CV. No offense, everybody has one of those roles. You start your career, everybody does. Well, I generalize. Majority of people start their early careers with, a time in one of those roles. So there's nothing wrong with spending time in a fast food environment. There are other fast food establishments besides the one I just mentioned now. But having said that, is it worth people considering taking up a volunteering opportunity in a field that's not necessarily relevant or directly relevant to where they're going? If I think about that question out aloud, I think the point I made earlier around, for example, something like a DBS check or security clearance or something like that, you have to put that question into context of what exactly am I looking to get out of this volunteering opportunity? For some people, going into volunteering is, I just want to go into it because I want to put something on my CV and I want to be able to use it to apply for jobs. If that's the case, you potentially want to go into a volunteering role that is relevant to your field so that then you can put it on your CV and then it opens up the door for you to get a job. If you want to use it as a way to get a job experience in the UK, I think Toke spoke about this in depth around her personal experience and how she used that as a stepping stone to get to where she needed to get to. Then obviously you can cast the net a bit wider. And I think in that context, the example I gave about the security check might be relevant, because you might go into a volunteering opportunity and it just gives you the opportunity to do something else. I've heard so many people talk about the fact that, you know, what I studied at university is not what I'm working as today. I'm a perfect example of that. You know, my degree is I've got a human resources, an HR degree, obviously HR and IT, but I work predominantly in IT in projects and programs. So again, it just depends on the context of that question. But I'll bring the other panelists in. I don't know whether either David or Tokes, you have thoughts on that question.
Yeah, I can come in. Thanks, Daryl. So there's something we call portfolio jobs. So if you think, well, I can gather knowledge by volunteering in something totally different from your background or your education, you can do so. In America, it's more common, where people work as a project manager for 2 days in the financial sector, and then they work as a business analyst for 1 day in another sector, and they probably work as a HR business partner for 2 days in a different sector within a week. So, you know, no knowledge is lost. So if you think, yes, you want to go for it, you've kind of understood what you're going there to learn, then I'll say take the opportunity.
Thank you for that, David. Tokes?
Yeah, just like David has said and Taiwo has said, I think for me, the theme is, what is the purpose? What is the goal? What are you trying to get out of it? So you need to define it, and based on that definition, I think you will be able to make your choice clearly. So if it's for the money, then you know I need the money. So it's not about it being on your CV. Two, if it's about the work experience, that I just want to work, I just want to leave my house in the morning and go somewhere, then there you go. Then do that, because sometimes that will boost your, your ego and your self-esteem and just give you that lift to then take the next step. And three, if it's that there are some things around the job, skills that you will learn that is transferable, because I don't know if you know about that, but some skills are transferable. So because it's not in your field of expertise doesn't mean you cannot link them together to say transferable skills. So if they are transferable skills, then then why not? But the key thing is understand the purpose of why you are doing what you're doing. If you know that, then the decision is very clear in terms of what you want to do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I think we've got in us, actually in all four panelists, actually, full-time careers, but also sort of entrepreneurship and sort of running our own businesses, as well as the day job. So I think this next question is quite pertinent to that. And the question is, how can an individual who has an entrepreneurial plan post UK study sort of map that out, because the UK is very financially dependent. So it's very difficult to be here and not have a way of sustaining yourself or your family post study. How do you advise someone to look into that? For me, I think if the person is thinking to do more study, there are opportunities. For example, I think Onya's research lecturer in entrepreneurial and innovation space. I know that there are postgraduate courses that can be done in that entrepreneurial space. Now, obviously, it sounds like you're going back to school to study, or you're spending more money towards study. But at that level, some of those studies are paid for. So they're paid for by the university. They're paid for. It's a research opportunity. But what that allows you to do potentially is to explore the area that you're looking to build your entrepreneurship journey in. So to see whether anybody's gone ahead, whether they've done anything similar to that, what are some of the pitfalls of having a startup or a business in that space. And what that buys you is sort of 2 years or more even, depending on what you decide to do, but it allows you to actually use your business or your business idea, if that's where you're going, as a bit of an understudy. And you can sort of address some of the issues that you would potentially have to address if you'd not done it in that research way. So that's one of the things that I know. From a financial perspective, I think it's tough, but then it's not insurmountable. I think the stats are all there in terms of the Black experience when it comes to starting a business in the UK. It's just something to have at the back of your mind. But if it's something that you're really set to do, there are a lot of grants that you can apply for. There's a lot of funding that's available that's free for you to start up a business. You just need to have a really strong business case, and you need to be able to demonstrate that the idea that you have that you want to build into a startup or into a business has longevity. It can sustain people pouring funds or investment into your business. And also to be mindful that the grants that you apply for are going into the business. They're going directly into your innovation idea. They're not there to pay your bills or to support your family. So what people generally tend to do is, if they want to go into entrepreneurship, they want to go into a startup straight after study, they generally tend to do a bit of what David said there around having a portfolio. So you sort of have a income generating job or business or something, as well as then focusing on your entrepreneurship journey and building your startup or your innovation business. I don't know whether you both want to add anything to that.
Yes. So as someone who is doing her best to manage as much as she can in terms of business-wise, I would say that having a plan, which is why I talked about a career plan and a personal development plan for your life, is very key. So in that career plan, if entrepreneur is a route for you in terms of what you want to do, a long-term goal, there are many options or route you can take to it. I remember a time I rejected a job and said, I need to focus on my business. So I said, 4 days I work for you, 1 day I work for myself. So that's what I did. That's an option. Don't be like me, but I'm giving examples of real life scenarios of things I have done. So I worked 4 days and 1 day I worked on my business, because that 1 day I needed to, make product, post it, or look for customers, or visit stores. I needed to do that. But I was at the place whereby I was comfortable enough to say, 1 day is fine for me in my career plan for my business. So if you're just starting up right now and you have a job, let's assume you have a job, please keep your job. Don't leave your job. Work your business according to your schedule. If you're an early morning riser or a late night person, dedicate, 2 hours, 3 hours, your best. And say every 3 hours on Monday to Wednesday, you can do 2 days a week, or you can do every day, depending. But have a plan is what I'm saying. And say, I will dedicate this time to my business and do a bit of research, or do a bit of production, do a bit of whatever it is that you need to do. But if you have a plan, it will definitely, without a shadow of doubt, make it easier for you. You know the steps, you know where you are, so you know where you are aiming to go, so you know what to do first. So you start with that. And with that, you are building, you are growing, you will know the next thing automatically, I promise you, once you start. So keep your full-time job, work that on the side. And as you grow, you will know what to do to balance it off. And like I said, you might get to the point you'll be like me and say, okay, I want 4 days, work at home, 4 days working a job, and 1 day on my business. And then you can be like me and say, I'm not doing the job again. I want to be a contractor because I want to do my business my way. I want to do it I want to go to work, when I want to go to work, how I want to go to work. I don't want you to take my time for me. And you can be like me and then decide that. And so that way I get to do what I want to do when I want. So if I don't want to go to work tomorrow, I just tell you I'm not coming to work tomorrow. So there is no right or wrong. But if you have a plan, then it is very clear. So you won't be like me, you'll be like you and do it exactly the way you want to do it. And you might end up eventually resigning from a job and just doing your business, because you have gotten to the point that the money coming from your business is equal to the money you are getting paid. And you'll be like, bye-bye job. That's it for me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. David, any thoughts?
No, I think it's all covered by the two of you. Just leave it.
Awesome. Okay. I just want to thank everybody for your time today. And I hope that you found this session useful. This program is run by KingsWord Church, as we said earlier. Please, I've just launched a poll. We would be grateful for as many responses as possible that we can get about today's session. Feedback is a beautiful gift because it helps us to keep improving and making this worthwhile for everybody. Can you all see the poll? I hope so. Please start responding and voting if so. Thank you. And just to say that the session will also be available to watch on replay on our YouTube channel. I think the link is in the chat. And if you're watching this on replay, thank you so much for coming back. We hope that you found value in the session today. Yes, the numbers are creeping up on the poll. Thank you to everyone who's completed or is completing. Okay. Yeah. Just a few more numbers on the poll, please. You can get the participation to about 90%. That would be brilliant. So if you haven't completed the poll yet, please. Okay, so I think we've ended the poll. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for joining this morning, this afternoon. Please help me thank our panelists in the chat. Thank you so much to everybody that's joined us today. Thank you for those joining live on YouTube. We hope you found this useful. As I said earlier, this is part of KingsWord Ministries International. Please find us on all of our social media channels. Connect with us, like and share our content so that we can continue to bring you more and more amazing career-related sessions like this. And I just want to say thank you so much, love. I think talk to your passion absolutely came through. David, experience in buckets, and huge thank you to Dr. Anya as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.